Chapter 10:15. When had she ever been bad to others? Little Chi pursed her lips. However, that night, when Mu Chi returned home, she saw her daughter frowning and studying hard under the nightlight. Didn't I say that I'm not allowed to do homework at home? I'm punished to write my name. Little Chi did it on purpose. She wanted these parents to feel guilty. Giving her such a complicated name was really a headache. Mu Chi crossed her arms and looked at it for a long time. Finally, she said, "If you didn't punish me to write, I wouldn't have known that your name was Ching." Was this her biological mother? Little Chi almost fainted. "Your dad is coming back soon. Put away your homework." Mu Chi heard movement downstairs and quickly reminded Little Chi, "Why don't you let my dad see it? Your handwriting is too ugly. I'm afraid you'll be scolded." "Thank you, my dear mother." Little Chi looked at Mu Chi resentfully and lay on the table again, waiting for her father to come to the study. However, Master Xiao had no intention of entering at all. That was because he could guess with his toes that some people were writing their names again. The mother and daughter were a pair of living treasures. When they had nothing to do, they would sing a two-man show for him. Little Chi really couldn't continue writing, so she picked up her textbook and went to Master Zhao's office. She looked aggrieved and pitiful. "Dad, can you change my name?" Master Xiao sat in front of the computer and tilted his head to look at his daughter. "Is this about changing your name? At least let the teacher change it. Why don't I just change your teacher?" Master Xiao smiled mockingly. After hearing Master Zhao's words, Little Chi immediately waved her hand. "No need, no need. Dad, you're too lethal. Then do I still change my name?" Master Xiao was completely calm in the face of danger. His every move had the charm of a mature man, exuding nobility and elegance. Every day, his mother was infatuated with him. Just thinking about it gave Little Chi goosebumps. How boring. It was not that Master Xiao did not love his daughter, but this was the name given by old Master Shun. They had to respect and remember it. Little Chi took her textbook and came out of her father's office. In any case, no matter what tricks she played, her father would see through them. She did not know how there could be such a smart person in the world. The resentful Little Chi could only hang herself and stay up late to finish her punishment. There was no justice in bullying a middle school student. She wrote until midnight. Little Chi had long forgotten about the transfer student. When she was in class the next day, she was surprised to find that there was someone lying next to her seat. To be more specific, it was a boy. "Wan, come here." The classmate next to her waved at her. "He's so fierce. He starts fighting the moment he comes. You have to be careful not to get bullied by him." After Little Chi heard this, she suddenly became interested because she had never experienced what it was like to be bullied since she was young. "What's his name?" "I heard that his name is Yenji. His family was originally quite rich, but after a car accident, 4 of them died, leaving him and his grandmother to depend on each other." The female classmate with a whip was enthusiastically gossiping with Xiao. "But he's really handsome." Was he handsome? Little Chi was a little curious, but she was not that curious. After all, there were a lot of handsome people in her family. Even Tang Xiaobao looked like a dog. She really did not believe in her classmates' aesthetics. Therefore, after class, Little Chi rested her chin on her hand and looked at him. However, what made her anxious was that he did not raise his head the whole time. How could she take care of him like this? Chapter 10:16. This situation lasted for a total of 3 days. Every day, Yenji came the earliest, but he always slept. Legend had it that in every class there was a sleeping god, but his grades were top-notch. Was he like that? Although he didn't look like one. Little Chi was full of curiosity about him, so she made a bold decision. At 5 o'clock in the morning, she wrapped herself up like a bear and rode her bike to school. It was not easy for her to see a handsome guy. At 6 o'clock in the morning, Yenji entered the school on time. Seeing that there was already someone next to him, he subconsciously frowned to express his displeasure. He knew who it was. It should be said that in all of Jinshuan, there was no one who didn't know her. She was born in a rich family and had lived a luxurious life since she was young. Every day, she wore an innocent face and could chat with anyone she met. He didn't like the young lady at all. Therefore, After entering the classroom, he loosened his bow tie as usual and lay on the table, ready to sleep. However, the young lady poked his back with a pen. "What?" Ienji turned his head and said in an unhappy tone, "Are you looking for a beating?" Little Chi successfully saw a handsome face with distinct facial features. Yeah, he was really handsome, and he was different from her father's and Uncle Tang's. However, his tone was not friendly, and it was obvious that he had a bad temper. "I want to take a look at you." Ienji said, "What's wrong with you?" He was fierce and not someone to be trifled with. "You can't sleep like this for the whole semester, can you?" Little Chi looked at his posture. It had been 4 days since he transferred to this school, and he hadn't changed. "What? You want to control me?" TSK. His tone was still frivolous. "What I want to say is that by the end of the semester, you might be half paralyzed." Ienji, "If you keep messing around, I'll beat you up. If a little girl wants to fall in love, find someone else. I can't afford to wait on you." After saying that, Ienji leaned on the table and continued his big dream. Being so handsome indeed makes one fall in love with him. Little Chi thought to herself, her father must have been such a famous person back then, right? Moreover, it was said that her father's temper was also very bad back then. Little Chi put away her curiosity and was about to go to the cafeteria to ask for a bun. However, when she got up, she saw a little square thing at Ienji's feet. She squatted down and picked it up to take a look. Her face immediately turned red. Then, she threw the thing at Ienji's head. To do this kind of thing so early, he really wasn't a good person. Ienji was amazed that someone had thrown something at him. He raised his head impatiently and looked at Little Chi. "You really deserve a beating." Little Chi looked at him hatefully, but she couldn't help blushing. Ienji looked down at the thing on the table and immediately grabbed Little Chi's hand. The corners of his mouth curled up wantonly. "Is that why your face is so red?" Natural reaction. Little Chi coughed lightly. What are girls thinking these days? Ienji tore open the square object in front of Little Chi and saw that it was not a rubber object, but a wet tissue. It was just that many restaurants nowadays dared to print any kind of paper towel packaging for the sake of gimmicks. He just conveniently took one for a meal. "See?" Little Chi rolled her eyes and struggled free from his hold. "A rich young lady like you wouldn't even know that there's such a thing in the world." After saying that, Ienji threw away the wrapping paper in his hand, lay on the table, and continued to sleep. This deskmate was really not easy to get along with. However, a few days later, the exam results came out. He was actually the legendary God of Sleep, full marks in all subjects. Chapter 10:17. This was the first time Little Chi had doubted life so much. Did he think that he could solve the questions after sleeping? Because he had gotten first place in the school, Ienji received a lot of attention. In addition, he was tall and handsome. The girls in his grade almost broke the threshold of their class. In Ienji's drawer, there were also love letters one after another. As Ienji's deskmate, Little Chi felt pressured, especially since she was usually quite popular. At this time, the people looking for her lined up all the way to the school gate. Was she some kind of celebrity manager? Looking at a certain someone sleeping soundly, Little Chi couldn't help but complain, "Looks like I have to change seats. If this continues, I'll be buried alive by the love letters." Ienji heard this in a daze, but he didn't have any reaction. It wasn't until after school that a large group of girls gathered outside the window and waved at Little Chi. Little Chi packed her school bag in a bad mood and walked out of the classroom. "Can you not look for me? I'm really not familiar with him." "Classmate, just treat it as a favor." "That's right, classmate. We really like Ienji." Just as a group of people were pulling Little Chi, Ienji carried his school bag and walked out of the classroom. Then he walked behind Little Chi and took all the love letters from the girls' hands. "If you have the ability, come and look for me directly." "Wow, Ienji." 2 or 3 girls blushed and screamed. But the next second, they couldn't laugh anymore, because Ienji directly threw the love letters at their faces. "Don't come again. Can you not pollute my eyes with this kind of doggy handwriting and the literary talent of a primary school student?" The few of them were instantly stunned. "In the future, if anyone writes me a love letter again, I'll go to the broadcasting room and read it in front of the whole school. A large group of girls were so scared by He that their faces turned pale and they burst into tears. However, He ignored them. After dealing with these girls who were in the way, he carried his school bag and quickly disappeared into the corridor. Little Chi looked at his back as he left, her mind full of questions. For example, did he really think that doggy handwriting would pollute his eyes? It was also from that day onwards that the number of people who dared to send He love letters decreased. Little Chi regained her usual peace and dispelled the idea of changing seats. She continued to live her carefree school life. However, she didn't expect that not long after, the class commissary in charge of studies would take the initiative to change seats with her. "Qingwan, you don't like He anyway. Change seats with me. That way, you won't have to endure his torment anymore. You don't like studying anyway." A little Chi was a little embarrassed. She felt that this was good. Moreover, what does it have to do with others whether she likes to study or not? Most importantly, when did she say that she didn't like He? It was fine if it was others, but this student member had reported her to the teacher several times. How could she let it go? "Why don't I ask him for you?" Little Chi tentatively asked the study commissary and poked her desk mate. He was sleepy. He turned his head and looked at Little Chi. "Do you want to die? The study commissary wants to sit with you. Go to hell." With that, He buried his head and continued to sleep. Little Chi shrugged, indicating that there was nothing she could do. When the sweet-looking study commissary saw this, she snorted unhappily. "You can't afford it even if you're rich?" "Heh, that's impressive," Little Chi retorted. "My dad is Sheng Xiao." "Who is your dad?" The other party immediately stopped talking and returned to her seat. Chapter 10:18. Can you solve your own problems in the future? Little Chi looked angrily at the god of sleep beside her. "I'm not your manager. Which manager wants to be like you? An artist doesn't even need to debut." She hides herself. He, who was lying on the table, didn't even open his eyes. However, he didn't forget to be mean. Besides, in the eyes of others, the person who has the best relationship with me in the whole school is you. Who do you think I'll look for if not you? Little Chi pointed at her nose and was speechless for a moment. "Then shouldn't you treat me better?" Hearing this, He turned his head and looked at Little Chi with interest. "How should I treat you better? Take you to experience adult games in advance? Have you experienced it?" Little Chi didn't answer, but asked instead. Her eyes were bright, and no one could tell that she was shy at all. "As a girl, you ask too many questions." After saying that, He continued to cover his head. "Boring." Little Chi snorted lightly and continued to bury her head in copying the answers with difficulty. After all, she still had to hand in her homework. However, she didn't know that ever since He arrived at school, he would never speak more than 3 sentences to the teacher. However, he would never stop chattering with her. In her opinion, this was the interaction that desk mates should have. But in the eyes of others, she was special. Not only was her identity special, but she was even more special in He eyes. Special my foot. Moreover, before He came, the entire class was very harmonious. Everyone helped each other and loved each other. There was no need to mention how united they were. However, ever since He came, the girls of the entire grade were restless. No, it was the entire school. Was she crazy? Little Chi felt that she shouldn't change her seat, but transfer to another school. He didn't notice Little Chi's thoughts and continued to do whatever he wanted. The reason why he accepted Little Chi by his side was that she was rarely infatuated. Moreover, he had never thought of taking the initiative to find out more about Little Chi. However, when he heard it in the bathroom of the holy land of gossip, he still pricked up his ears. Sheng Qingwan has really fattened up by herself. She's awesome when she's rich, but she's a little silly. So many people have borrowed money from her, but no one has ever returned it. I just saw a girl who's close to her borrow money, but then she turned around and scolded Sheng Qingwan. You really can't guess a woman's mind. How could those girls have any real friends? If Sheng Qingwan wasn't rich, who would play with her? Last place, haha. He pretended not to hear it. However, after returning to his seat, he could no longer sleep. Was the person beside him really that stupid? Thinking of this, He couldn't help but look at Little Chi. He saw that she was holding her notebook and writing something. Idiot! Little Chi was baffled by the scolding. Is he out his mind? You're the one who smoked. Did you borrow a lot of money from your classmates? Yinji asked Little Chi directly. Do you have to use this method to make friends and prove that you're rich? Do you know what those people are saying about you behind your back? What do they say? Forget it. Yinji didn't want to meddle in other people's business. Moreover, Little Chi's family was indeed rich. If she was so stupid, what could he do? The most irredeemable thing about a person was their intelligence. Seeing that he suddenly stopped talking, Little Chi handed him the notebook that she had just scribbled on. Yinji took it impatiently and flipped through it casually. He saw that it was densely packed with accounts. I remember them all. My dad will send these bills directly to their homes in the end. Who would dare to not pay when Zhongting asked for money? Moreover, she even collected interest. Some of these idiots were beaten up by their parents for no reason. Some of them knew what was going on, so they didn't dare to come and borrow money. Yinji, he couldn't understand the operations of rich people. Forget it. She wasn't so stupid that she couldn't be saved. Chapter 1019. Be wary of girls too. Otherwise, one day I'll sell you, and you'll still be counting money for others. Heh. Little Chi snorted lightly and signaled him with her eyes. Turn the page. Yinji turned the other page in confusion and saw that the names of all the students were written on it. Many of the names were crossed out. It meant that they could not have a close relationship. I know what those gossips are saying behind my back. It turned out that this girl knew everything. Who asked me to have such an awesome dad? As for friends, one or two is enough. As for the rest, I'll just muddle through. Little Chi took back her notebook and closed it. When she frowned, she looked like a little adult. Although she looked like she was insensitive and liked to go off the rails, she could see things clearer than anyone else. Of course, Yinji also noticed that his name was at the end of the list. However, so far, it had not been crossed out. You can choose to live a protected life. My parents aren't people who need protection. Why do I need protection? Little Chi looked indifferent. I quite like this kind of life. Seeing through it, but not saying it out loud, was Little Chi's normal behavior as a rich child. As for those poor people, it was pitiful enough to be poor, but their hearts were so ugly. It was really miserable. Yinji didn't say anything else. He should say it, but he had nothing to say. The girl knew everything in her heart. There was really no need for him to worry here. So, he lay down again and dozed off, as usual. Hey, go to sleep later. Lend me your homework to copy. Little Chi poked Yinji's shoulder. Yinji was not in a good mood. His handsome brows were tightly furrowed, but he still handed the homework book from his drawer to Little Chi with one hand. Little Chi took the homework book. Her eyes curved into crescents as she smiled. She looked very cute. However, after she opened it, she couldn't smile anymore. When had this god of sleep ever done homework? Can't you do some homework and save me from the fire and water? Why should I put myself in the fire and water to save you? Yinji propped up his head and asked Little Chi in confusion. How did you do it? You didn't listen in class or do your homework, and you still got full marks? Come closer, and I'll tell you. Yinji hooked his finger at Little Chi. Little Chi moved her ear closer, but she heard Yinji whisper in her ear, repeat. Little Chi said, You're a bastard. Yinji chuckled and chose a comfortable position to lie on the table. Little Chi wished she could poke the back of his head. After school, it was supposed to be Little Chi and Yinji's turn to stay behind to clean up, but this person carried a school bag and went out after class. Where are you going? A fight? Are you in? Yinji threw his school bag on his shoulder and sneered. I'll follow. Little Chi immediately put down the broom in her hand and used her electronic watch to call her shadow. Uncle Hui, come in and help me clean up. Yinji, didn't you say you would bring me there? When Little Chi saw Yinji leave with his bag, she quickly chased after him. Eldest miss, that's not a fun place. Why are you still going if it's not fun? Yinji couldn't explain to her. He pushed Little Chi away, walked to the school's parking lot, and rode his flashy motorcycle out. Little Chi immediately chased after him and jumped into his back seat. Get off. If you dare to throw me off, don't even think about getting your motorcycle tomorrow, Little Chi threatened as she held Yinji's shoulder. then don't regret it. Chapter 10:20. Little Xiao was 71 years old, while Yinji was 13 years old. He was at the age of rebellion. He had indeed stayed back, but it was not because of his grades, but because of a fight. He didn't know how he had provoked this young lady. She insisted on watching the fight. When that happens, the Sheng family would tear Jianchuan apart if the girl was hurt anywhere. This was the first time little Qi had ridden in a vehicle of the opposite sex other than her elders. Moreover, it was a motorcycle. This was also the first time little Qi felt that a handsome boy riding a motorcycle would be so sexy and emotional. Most importantly, she held Yinji's shoulder and could smell the fresh fragrance from his back. However, little Qi did not expect Yinji to send her directly to Zhongting's entrance. "Get out of the car. We're already here. There's no point in following anymore. Where do you want to take me there?" Little Qi had no intention of getting out of the car. Yinji directly pulled her down and put his hands in his trouser pockets. He told little Qi seriously, "Other than my grandmother, only my girlfriend can sit in the back seat of my motorcycle. I'll spare you today. Also, Miss Sheng, we're not from the same world. Don't think that just because you sit with me, I'll recognize you as my friend. I don't want to be friends with rich people." After saying that, Yinji got back on his motorcycle and left Zhongting's entrance before little Qi could react. Little Qi was stunned for a moment and frowned. There was no doubt about Yinji's danger. Although little Qi's family did not restrict her freedom to make friends, her mother would still object to Yinji's level, right? Therefore, little Qi did not struggle anymore. She directly carried her school bag and entered Zhongting's building. When Yinji, who was at the corner, saw this, he felt relieved and went to the open space for the fight. The little girl, who was inexperienced, did not know how sinister the human heart was. The next day, Yinji did not come to class. Little Qi looked at the empty seat beside her and suddenly felt uncomfortable. Could it be that he died in a group fight yesterday? Soon, there were rumors about Yinji in the school. It was said that Yinji had single-handedly challenged 5 people last night and even sent them to the hospital. He was a ruthless character. Some people also said that the reason why Yinji wanted to transfer schools was because he was too famous in another school. Fighting, drinking, and flirting, there was nothing he couldn't do. In short, Yinji was now loved and feared. For 2 whole days, Yinji did not report to school. Little Qi took the opportunity after school to say to her shadow bodyguard, "Uncle Hui, can you help me find someone's address?" The tall man was loyal and reliable. He was the driver and bodyguard that Shang Xiao had specially found for little Qi. "A boy. Can you not tell my dad?" Little Qi looked at the man pleadingly. "You know, my dad is too ruthless." Little Qi rarely asked for help. She had only done it once in a few years. As her bodyguard, fulfilling all of her wishes was also one of Cheng Hui's tasks. "Tell me your name and wait for me for 10 minutes. Yinji." Little Qi didn't know why she wanted to look for him. That damn boy had a poisonous tongue and was dangerous. But for some reason, when she thought of Yinji riding on her, she couldn't help but want to know if that person was dead. Chapter 10:21. 10 minutes later, Cheng Hui got the address of Yinji's house. "Send me there." "Okay." Cheng Hui nodded and opened the car door for little Qi. Yinji's house was in a small courtyard by the sea. It was clean and elegant. It did not look like a poor family. Little Qi appeared at the entrance of the courtyard, but she attracted the attention of the cleaning auntie. "Little girl, who are you looking for?" I'm looking for Yinji. I'm his desk mate," little Qi quickly answered. "Another little girl looking for Yinji. There are several of them every day." The auntie laughed and said to little Qi, "Wait here. I'll go in and talk to him." The cleaning auntie did not finish her sentence. Several little girls came every day, but no one had ever been able to see Yinji successfully. Therefore, she did not think that little Qi was special. She just entered the house very normally and told Yinji about it. "Yinji, your classmate is here. Tell her to get lost." Yinji, who was lying on the bed, looked very indifferent. Because he was injured. The fight was real, and so was the 1-on-5 fight. "I knew it, but is it okay to be a desk mate?" Hearing the word desk mate, Yinji immediately got up from the bed. Wait, any Hong. I'll go out and take a look. Huh? The Andy was surprised, but she did not stop him. She's just outside the door. Yinji was wearing his school uniform and was injured. He walked out of the room and appeared in front of little Chi. What are you doing here? To see if you're dead. Little Chi looked at his bruised face and immediately shook her head. Next time you fight, tell your opponent not to hit your face. Yinji, now the whole school knows about your great achievement of 1-on-5. I've always been this kind of person. If you're afraid, stay away from me. Yinji threatened little Chi. Yinji threatened little Chi. Or, you can't wait to sit in the back seat of my motorcycle? I can consider changing your car. It's too hard and uncomfortable. After saying that, little Chi waved at Yinji. Hurry back to class. You want to persuade me to turn over a new leaf? Yinji's emotions were a little complicated. Where do you want to see me? I want to play with you. After saying that, little Chi waved her hand and turned to leave the courtyard. Her posture was not bashful at all. It was as if she wanted to be friends with him from the bottom of her heart. When Yinji saw this, he couldn't help but laugh. There was a look of disbelief on his handsome face. Did this little girl know what danger was? However, it was also because of this that Yinji clearly knew that the name Shang Qingwan was interesting. Yinji, do you like that little girl? The cleaning Annie had been hiding behind them for a long time. When she heard the contents of their conversation, she blushed and her heart raced. This is the first time I've seen you chatting with a girl. Kids nowadays, do they start dating at such a young age? Aunt Hong is very special, isn't it? However, if I come into contact with her, I probably won't have a good life in the future, right? Yinji's tone was slightly self-deprecating. Young master, ever since Sir and Madam left, you've become stronger. I know that it's not easy for you to guard the inheritance at such a young age, but you're still a child. You can't let yourself bear too much. Yinji didn't say anything. He just touched the corner of his swollen mouth. Chapter 1022. The next morning, Yinji went to school. This was beyond everyone's expectations. The wound on his face confirmed the rumors that he had indeed gotten into a fight, and it was 1-against-5. However, when he arrived at school, he still fell asleep. Even the teacher could not do anything to him. When little Chi entered the classroom and saw Yinji, the corners of her mouth curled up slightly. She didn't know why she felt at ease, but in short, it was much more secure than when he wasn't around. The two of them still got along the same way as before. Yinji still slept when he should. The only thing that could cheer him up was probably physical education class. On the wide basketball court, little Chi sat on the ground with a bottle of water and watched the boys play against each other. She didn't like to move because her father had arranged enough extra self-defense classes. She also didn't like to join the girls' events. However, just as the group of boys was resting, a hand suddenly appeared in front of little Chi and snatched the mineral water from her hand. He held in his hand and gulped it down. That's what I drank. Little Chi frowned as she looked at Yinji, who was sweating profusely. You were the one who called me back to class. Are you reluctant to part with a bottle of water? Yinji twisted the cap back and returned the bottle to little Chi. Leave some for me. Little Chi was stunned for a moment. Before she could answer, Yinji's figure returned to the basketball court. The two of them drank the same bottle of water. Did he want her to become the female lead of a scandal and be attacked by everyone? Fortunately, their little flirtation did not attract the attention of the people around them. Otherwise, little Chi felt that she would probably have to endure the lasers of all the girls in the school. It couldn't be helped. After knowing that Yinji had fought 1-against-5, all the girls in the school went crazy. They felt that he was so cool, handsome, and stylish. Whoever was his girlfriend in the future would be too proud. But so far, all the girls in the school, except for little Chi, could not talk to him normally. After a basketball game, even though Yinji's face was injured, there were still some infatuated girls who thought that he was extremely handsome. They were not afraid of death and came up to him to hand him a love letter. Classmate Yinji wiped his sweat as he looked at her. You're in the way. Little Chi was not far away, but she did not go forward to disturb him. She just quietly watched the show. I'll like you. The long-haired girl handed over a beautiful gift box, showing her sincerity. You want to be my girlfriend? Sure, let's get a room tonight. If there is, I won't be responsible for it. Let me make this clear first. Moreover, you are at most lover number 10. The other party was stunned. Then, his face turned red. Yinji's lips curled up dangerously. Then, he said to the other party, I don't play with girls' hearts. Let's do it for real. What do you think? The other party was scared away by Yinji's bold words. Then, he returned to Little Chi's side, took the small bottle of mineral water, and drank it in one gulp. What's the excuse this time? Little Chi asked him. I said I wanted to sleep with her, Yinji replied teasingly. In the end, who knew that she wouldn't be scared? Other little girls just want to write love letters and hold hand with you. At most, they just want to hug and kiss you. You're so fierce the moment you come. Who wouldn't be afraid? What about you? Yinji threw the bottle of mineral water into the trash can and asked her with a faint smile. Chapter 10:23. As for me, I know you just like to have sex. Actually, you wouldn't do that at all. Little Chi shrugged. You're wrong. I would really do that. It's just that I'm not so hungry that I want to sleep with anyone. Yinji walked to Little Chi's shoulder and whispered into her ear, If it's you, I might not be able to control myself. Seeing his naughty smile, Little Chi ignored him and pushed his head away. That's enough. You're an innocent little virgin who still has your first kiss. You just like to put on a show. How do you know I still have my first kiss? Yinji sat down on the ground with a faint smile on his face. Didn't you leave it for me? Little Chi asked matter-of-factly. If you kiss someone else, then I don't want it anymore. Yinji's heart skipped a beat because there had never been a girl who could ignore his teasing. Instead, she could naturally tease him back. Yuxing family members are quite bold. Why don't we find a small forest and do it? When Little Chi heard this, she kicked him. Quit while you're ahead. In fact, the two of them were just putting on a show. Their hearts were filled with guilt. Yinji sat on the ground and laughed heartily. It had been a long time since he had laughed so heartlessly. However, because of this incident, the news of Yinji sleeping with girls and having a messy private life gradually spread. There were even more exaggerated rumors that he had already gotten several girls pregnant. When Little Chi heard these rumors, she was quite helpless. This person was good at ruining his reputation. If this continued, he would probably have to transfer schools again. The teacher had looked for Yinji, but it was just rumors. What could the teacher do? He couldn't just expel someone for something that no one had seen before, could he? Yinji was as indifferent as ever. He continued to sleep in class. However, Little Chi poked his shoulder. What? Yinji's eyes were sleepy. Do you really want to transfer schools? Little Chi asked him, propping herself up with her arm. You live by the sea. Why do you care so much? Yinji felt that this kind of question was very boring. If you don't want to transfer schools, can you not make yourself into a heinous scum of society? Little Chi glared at him. I don't want you to get lost before I even gave my first kiss. After Yinji heard this, he rubbed his fluffy hair. I owed you my previous life. Who told you to cherish my first kiss? Yinji asked. Are you sure that I'm the one who cares about you, and not you? Whatever. Anyway, if you leave, I'll have a new desk mate. Little Chi looked indifferent. She tidied up her stationery and packed her school bag. Yinji took a deep breath and only said 2 words to Little Chi. Troublesome. Then, he lay down on the table and fell asleep again. He had transferred schools 3 times and had to repeat a year. When had he ever cared about these rumors? As for his friends, they had always been hooligans. Smoking and flirting with girls had always been the norm. His first kiss was still there, but it did not mean that he had never been in contact with girls. But even the person who almost became his girlfriend didn't ask for so much from him. However, this little girl made him so impatient, and he had no choice but to pay attention to her. Therefore, the next day, the rumors in the school actually lessened a lot. This was because after Yinji put it down, he delayed his own time to go home. He blocked the person who spread the rumors in the bathroom and took good care of him. Chapter 10:24. In fact, the rumors were not spread by those boys, but they were unlucky. When they went to the bathroom, he happened to hear them talking about Yinji. Do you think Yinji really played with girls? Didn't the people outside say it? He got a few pregnant. He's really a god. Without parents' upbringing, wouldn't he be so despicable? With a loud bang, the bathroom door was suddenly opened. Then, the three boys saw Yinji's scowling face. Since you know that I don't have parents' upbringing, you still dare to talk behind my back? When the three boys saw the wound on his face, they immediately shrunk into a ball. Do you want to go to the hospital that badly? No. The three of them waved their hands at the same time. Have you seen me play with women? No. No. The three of them seemed to be trembling with fear. Yinji suddenly stopped talking. He went forward and grabbed one of the boys' school bag. He saw his class and name. Listen up, I didn't get a woman pregnant, and I'm not interested in those pure primary school students in school. If I hear you make up nonsense again, tomorrow will be your death date. Do you understand? The three of them nodded nonstop. Don't blame them for being afraid. Yinji was a little taller to begin with. In addition to his intimidating aura, the students did not dare to move at all, afraid that they would be beaten up. They only dared to breathe after Yinji left. Oh my god, I almost peed my pants. Why didn't you guys dare to go up just now? You're still talking about me. He fought 1 against 5, and they were all people from society. We have small arms and thin legs. Let's admit defeat. As a result, the next day, little Chi rarely heard rumors about Yinji playing with girls. However, another rumor popped up. That was, Yinji blocked the person who spread the rumor in the bathroom and taught him a lesson. Why was every rumor about him so fierce? Little Chi shook her head in disbelief. He actually took her words to heart. Although, he was still sleeping on the table, as usual. Regardless of whether he played with women or not, he was still fierce. Most people in the school would take a detour when they saw him. If there was a fight in the school, everyone would have a conditioned reflex. Yinji fought again. However, the person involved did not care. He just slept soundly on the table. Not long after, the school bell rang. However, the homeroom teacher announced that in order to keep up with the neighboring schools, they would also have to study at night from tomorrow onwards. Little Chi didn't have any objections. Anyway, it didn't matter where they played. However, her gaze naturally landed on the god of sleep. It's time for evening self-study. You hear me? Go. Yinji propped up his head, but yawned. It's good to do bad things at night. For example, little Chi asked. Yinji thought for a few seconds and was about to answer when a boy suddenly ran past little Chi and bumped into little Chi's shoulder. Yinji was furious when he saw it. Are you courting death? The other party was scared silly. He had bumped into little Chi, but Yinji was angry at him. Could it be that Sheng Qingwan had become his big brother's woman? How am I supposed to sleep if you make the table shake? The other party was stunned for a moment before hurriedly apologizing. I'm sorry. Got it. Get lost. The other party felt as if a heavy burden had been lifted from his shoulders, and he quickly left. Aren't you afraid of being beaten to death? Little Chi looked at him curiously. Heartless. Who am I doing this for? Little Chi curled her lips and felt warm in her heart. He was like this. He cared about people, but he didn't know how to express it properly. Chapter 1025. In short, Yinji's arrival had stirred up a wave of infatuation in the school. It was no less than those little fresh meats in the celebrity circle who had been made famous. Moreover, no matter what kind of scandal Yinji had, he was still crazily pursued by girls. Little Chi looked at the mountains of gifts and love letters piled up on Yinji's desk every day and felt deeply pained. Why hadn't these infatuated fans stopped after a month had passed? However, these things had always been thrown into the trash can by Yinji without exception. Could it be that they didn't have eyes? However, today little Chi saw a special case. Because among the pile of gifts, Yinji actually left one behind and put it in his drawer. Without saying anything, he continued to sleep on the table. Could it be that someone's persistence had finally moved him? Wan, help me ask Yinji to hand his homework. I'm timid and don't dare. After class, the math class representative grabbed little Chi's arm and said, He seems to only listen to you. Really? Little Chi was deeply suspicious. I'm not familiar with him. All of us saw it. After Yinji entered the school, you were the only one he chatted with. Are you saying that I don't want to be friends with rich people and that young ladies like you don't understand this kind of conversation? Little Chi crossed her arms and asked the class representative. Huh, so he's that much? After the class representative heard this, he let go of Little Chi's arm. Then I can only bite the bullet and do it. Little Chi didn't know why, but there was a nameless fire in her heart. This kind of impatience made her want to distance herself from He Yinji. Perhaps even she didn't know it herself. It was because she minded that He Yinji had accepted the gift. Then, Little Chi saw that the math class representative was scolded by He Yinji. As for the homework, of course, it was impossible for him to hand it in because he never did it. Little Chi quickly returned to her seat, but young master, he noticed that her expression was not good. He leaned on the table and asked Little Chi, "Are you angry?" "No, because I accepted a gift from another girl." He Yinji stared into Little Chi's eyes, not allowing her to blink at all. Was this person a shrewd person? Little Chi frowned. "Are you under my control?" "No. So, you don't have to tell me who you're accepting gifts from." After saying that, Little Chi picked up her school bag and left the classroom. He Yinji looked at Little Chi's departing figure and chuckled. Was she jealous? Even so, it wasn't to that extent yet, but there was still some discomfort in his heart, right? She still refused to admit that she was the young miss and needed others to put her feelings in the highest position. However, he was still willing to support her. Actually, what he had just received wasn't a gift. It was just a small toy sent by his former classmate. Why are you so jealous? Which boyfriend would be able to stand it in the future? Even so, He Yinji still waited for everyone to finish class before he slowly went home. No one knew why he was lingering in the school. The next morning, Little Chi saw all kinds of toys on her desk. Then, He Yinji's handsome face appeared in front of her. "What are you doing?" "The things in the package yesterday." He Yinji's tone was indifferent. "Someone gave them to you. Why did you put them on my desk?" Little Chi frowned. "These are all my favorite things to play with. My friends send them over. My desk can't fit them all, so I'll lend them to you." "Why?" He Yinji answered domineeringly. Chapter 1026. Showing off for no reason. "Who allowed it?" Little Chi retorted. "You're my cheap wife. If I don't put you here, who should I put there?" He Yinji said matter-of-factly. When Little Chi heard the word cheap wife, she immediately lost her temper and completely forgot to retort. "If you put me here, how am I supposed to attend class? Why don't you sit on me?" Hearing He Yinji's lewd words, Little Chi ignored him. She picked up the box on the ground and put He Yinji's toys back one by one. "Keep your childhood well. I can't remember it for you." He Yinji took the box and smiled faintly. Before class, he deliberately said to Little Chi, "You really don't want it? It's stained with my aura." Little Chi snorted. She had always known that He Yinji's frivolous words to her were just for fun. This person had never been serious. He Yinji also understood in his heart that Little Chi looked like a piece of transparent white paper, pure and untainted. Moreover, she was soft and looked like she was easy to bully, but her heart was colder and more determined than anyone else. She just looked easy to tease. In fact, it was very difficult for anything to really pry open her heart. Such a young child had such determination. This could not be separated from the influence of her parents. That was what He Yinji thought. Then, he continued to sleep on the table. However, it was almost a midterm exam. In order to let the students in the class improve a little, the form teacher suggested that the top 20 students in the class should tutor the bottom 20 students. After the form teacher suggested this idea, Little Chi immediately felt many pairs of eyes looking at He Yinji, who was lying on the table. It seemed that they all wanted him to tutor them. "I have a list in my hand. It's randomly arranged. My goal is to hope that you can help each other. Student He, don't sleep anymore. Don't even think about running away from this tutoring. It's time for you to interact with the students in the class." The old witch specially called He Yinji's name twice. There are a total of 20 groups. I'll read the names. First place, He Yinji, you tutor. He Yinji finally propped up his head. He rubbed his hair and looked at the old witch. "I'll tutor the one next to me. I'm too lazy to move. Who needs your guidance?" Little Chi muttered softly. But the homeroom teacher hesitated. "If it's a boy, I can't guarantee that I won't do anything. If it's a girl, she's definitely more dangerous than Shang Qingwan. Teacher, what do you think?" The teacher took a deep breath and pushed up the glasses on the bridge of his nose. In the end, he had no choice but to compromise. Think carefully. She's ranked last. Only by counting down can I show my ability. After saying that, Yinji lay down again. Little Chi took the opportunity to look around. The girl's eyes were filled with jealousy, as if they wanted to tear her apart. However, little Chi was not modest at all. Who asked the first place to take a fancy to her? No matter how others looked at her, she would act as if she didn't see anything. After the homeroom teacher read out the name list, he placed his hands on the table and said, "From now on, the evening self-study session will be the time for you to tutor each other. There's still half a month before the midterm exams. I hope that the average score of our class can increase by a few places. We won't always be last, especially for certain students." Little Chi, what's wrong with the countdown? You don't allow people to get bad grades? It's not like I've eaten your rice. Bookmark for easier reading. Chapter 10:27. At 7 p.m., the evening self-study session began as scheduled. Little Chi looked at Yinji beside her and couldn't help but roll her eyes. Why do you have to do this? The commissary in charge of studies is staring at you eagerly. Yinji slept until he had a headache. He finally propped himself up and looked at Little Chi. Which subject is the worst? As he spoke, Yinji pulled out Little Chi's workbook. After observing her handwriting, he only said one thing. Is your handwriting dog-paddled? Little Chi was speechless. Did I beg you to tutor me? I think I'll go find a second-best student. He'll be very happy. Little Chi immediately snatched the workbook and was about to get up, but Yinji stopped her. Forget it, forget it. You have to train your own wife. There's no need to ask someone else for this kind of thing. After saying that, Yinji flattened Little Chi's workbook. You're good at physics and chemistry, but you don't know shit about words. You're the one who doesn't know shit. You're eloquent. Can you pass Chinese and English? Little Chi immediately fell silent. She had really inherited this from Chi. She could do anything, but don't ask her to write an essay. She could write an essay full of loopholes. I have a way to guarantee that your language skills will improve rapidly. Do you want to try it? Yinji held on to Little Chi's chair and asked tentatively, "Write me a love letter every day." After hearing that, Little Chi immediately punched Yinji. Yinji laughed heartily and grabbed her little fist. How about this? If you can write me a love letter, I'll bring you along in the next group fight. Little Chi pulled her hand back and snorted. There are so many love letters in your desk. Are you missing one from me? It's not missing. I'm only looking forward to yours. Then why don't you write one for me first and give me a demonstration? Little Chi countered. Yinji knew that this little girl looked dumb, but she was actually very shrewd. I've never written one. When Yinji said this, he was in high spirits. After all, he had been handsome for so many years. It had always been women chasing after him. There's always a first time for everything. All the best. After saying that, Little Chi put away her exercise book. Was the daughter of the Sheng family a pushover? Humph. Well, let's put language aside for now. English shouldn't be bad, right? After all, he was born in a wealthy family. Wasn't English the standard? Aya, go back to sleep. Little Chi found him very annoying. How could she not understand English as Sheng Zhao's daughter? Every time she took an English exam, she would use it to test her luck and see how many of the multiple choice questions she could guess correctly. Yinji chuckled and really lay on the table, sleeping peacefully. His wife? Did he really think so? He didn't dare. He just thought it was fun to tease her. Did they want Sheng Zhao's daughter? He must live like a cat and have 9 lives. Just like that, the two of them lived in peace for a few days, and there was no progress in the tutoring that the teacher had mentioned. Just imagine, when the whole class was having heated discussion, only Yinji and Ming Chi were sleeping, and the other was lost in thought. However, this situation was quickly broken because before the exam, another student transferred into the class, and it was a girl. She had long black hair and exquisite facial features. Most importantly, she did not hide her developing body at all. She looked more mature than the average girl. After she entered the class and introduced herself, the first thing she did was to ask the teacher, "Teacher, can I sit with classmate he?" After all, We used to be classmates. Chapter 1028. After hearing the pretty girl's application, all the students in the class reacted. She was most likely here for Yinji. She had transferred all the way here for Yinji. If this wasn't love, what was there to be sad about? After the old witch heard this, she pushed the glasses on the bridge of her nose. It would have been fine if the person sitting next to Yinji was an ordinary person, but it had to be little Chi. Even if she was last, she was still the daughter of the Sheng family. Changing seats depended on little Chi's opinion. However, in the eyes of the entire class, if little Chi didn't change seats, it would be too unkind. After all, the girl had already chased him all the way here. Therefore, all the students in the class looked at little Chi. However, little Chi lowered her head and tidied up the stationery in her stationery box. What was wrong with her? She had been sitting here for almost a year. Why did she have to give in when others liked her? Can I? Yinji? The girl was asking Yinji this question. This made little Chi even angrier. The seat was hers. Why did she need someone else's permission? Who was spoiled? The teacher can set up a table in the back and put Yinji and the new student together, little Chi said with a fake smile. After all, I'm a native. I don't want to move my butt. But I'm alone here. I'm not familiar with this place. I only know Yinji. The little girl's eyes were brimming with tears. She was so wrong that she was about to cry. But at this moment, I don't know you. Yinji propped himself up and replied calmly. Besides, I've transferred to so many schools. Who knows which one you're talking about? Everyone vomited blood. Yinji was really wasting God's gift. Another little beauty who was like a moth flying into a flame. After the teacher heard this, she arranged for the little beauty to sit in the middle of several rows away from the two of them. However, the little beauty's gaze never left Yinji. From the looks of it, she really knows you, little Chi said calmly. Little Chi said calmly, originally, I also wanted to be an adult, but I don't like to be modest, especially when it comes to white lotuses. So, even if you want to catch up with the little beauty, you can only wait until after school. After Yinji heard little Chi's words, he immediately raised his head and looked at her. Can I understand that you're jealous? Who cares about you? Little Chi snorted and didn't buy it. However, Yinji reached out under the table and held little Chi's fist. You're quite jealous. Let go. Little Chi exploded. The first kiss is mine. What's wrong with holding hands? Yinji didn't think much of it. Little Chi reached out and pushed him away. Then, she carried her bag and walked out of the classroom. Yinji was stunned. Could it be that he had teased her too much? He really wanted to restrain himself, but his heart couldn't help it. Just like that, little Chi left the classroom without saying goodbye. A moment later, a delicate figure sat in little Chi's seat. Yinji's voice became dangerous and cold. Move your legs away from the chair immediately. The little beauty who was being fiercely looked pitiful. This is just a position. Not just anyone can stay by my side. After saying that, Yinji also carried his bag and left the classroom. The little beauty's name was Enruoli. Her family background was not bad. She had indeed been in the same school as Yinji in the past. Moreover, she had transferred schools because of him. However, Yinji had never looked at her in the eye. Never. Chapter 1029. Yinji rode his motorcycle and arrogantly found little Chi. However, at this time, little Chi was about to get into her family's Rolls-Royce. When Yinji saw this, he immediately stopped. However, little Chi noticed him. Seeing that his expression was not right, she said to the bodyguard, Uncle Hui, you go home first. Miss, little Chi did not listen to his advice. She carried her school bag and walked to Yinji's side. Then, she directly got onto his motorcycle. Didn't you say that if there's a group fight again, you'll bring me along? Yinji wore a helmet and smiled. Are you sure? If a dangerous person like me leads the Sheng family's young lady astray, I won't have a good time, right? If you don't say it, and I don't say it, no one will know. Little Chi held his shoulder and said, Take your wife somewhere else to review her lessons. After saying that, Yinji started the motorcycle and brought little Chi to the billiard hall. Seeing that she looked unfamiliar, he smiled. This is your first time here, right? Indeed, little Chi looked inside. It was a little murky. However, this was a place where gangsters stayed for a long time. Little Chi had seen police movies before. If you're not used to it, just say it. I'll send you back to your world. Little Chi pretended not to hear him and went straight into the hall of the billiard bar. When the boy beside her saw such a beautiful girl, he couldn't help but whistle at her. However, following Yinji's actions, the people around him immediately did not dare to act rashly. This was because Yinji very naturally put his arm on little Chi's shoulder. It was as if he was swearing sovereignty. Brother he, hello, brother he. Along the way, they were all greeting him respectfully. A 13-year-old boy actually made a person in his early 20s bow to him. It was really magical. Brother he, this is your first time. The curator of the billiard hall looked at little Chi meaningfully and said to Yinji, little girlfriend? Wrong, it's my wife. Yinji answered sloppily. So beautiful. What service do you need? Hearing this tone, little Chi frowned. Just give me a private room, Yinji said lightly. Okay. The curator looked at Yinji and smiled ambiguously. The people around him also revealed meaningful looks. Little Chi was calm and composed. She didn't have the self-awareness of being Big Brother's woman at all. She was only curious about these people's entertainment. However, after entering the private room, she was stunned, because Yinji directly grabbed her bag and poured out her homework. Do it here. The people outside all thought that he brought a little girlfriend to do something bad. In the end, he was doing his homework in the private room. Homework? Why are they all afraid of you? Little Chi sat on the scarlet sofa and asked, because I've been beaten. Yinji answered calmly and sat down on the table. Can I get into the top 10 in the midterm exam? Why do you care? Everyone outside thinks that we're kissing inside. Do you think I'm in charge of you? Yinji pointed outside the door and asked little Chi, can't you take the exam properly? Why do I feel like I've fallen into your wolf's den? Little Chi frowned and pouted. I'm just asking you to do your homework. Am I not pure? Yinji opened her homework book. You have to know that if I really want to do something to you, even if your father comes out, he might not be able to settle it immediately. Chapter 10:30. You want to sleep with me? Little Chi raised her head and asked Yinji, who was sitting at the table. Yinji heard her say this sentence casually and felt a headache coming on. Have you asked anyone else this question? Little Chi shook her head. Be good, you're a little girl. Don't be so explicit. After saying that, Yinji stroked little Chi's hair. After you finish the homework I arranged for you today, I'll take you out to play. Moreover, it won't be the same every night. Do you want it? Little Chi lowered her head and thought for 2 seconds. Finally, she nodded. Pinky promise. Oh no, my future wife is very playful. Yinji sighed. This little girl was really interesting. However, I reckon that your father will come looking for you soon. After little Chi heard this, she immediately raised her hand. You guarantee my safety outside, and I guarantee your safety in front of my father. My wife, what do you think? After saying that, Yinji jumped off the table handsomely. The sooner you finish it, the sooner you can play something new. For the first time, little Chi was full of anticipation for her homework. Aren't you going to guard me here? I'm guarding you. What else are you going to do? After saying that, Yinji reached out and opened the door of the private room. He said to the curator, Boss, help me keep an eye on her. Don't let anyone disturb her. Don't worry, young master he. No one can touch your people, the curator said to Yinji as he wiped the cup. As the curator wiped the cup, he said to Yinji, But aren't you accompanying your little girlfriend inside? She has something else to do. In the entire world, Yinji was probably the only one who would bring the little girl to the billiard hall to do her homework. Little Chi's heart itched, especially when she secretly watched Yinji play billiard through the gap. She wished she could tear the homework in her hands apart. A moment later, Yinji put down the billiard cue and returned to the private room. He picked up little Chi's homework and looked at it. His eyebrows immediately furrowed. You only got 2 right. Who told you to go out and play by yourself without me? After hearing little Chi's words, Yinji couldn't help but laugh. So you wanted me to guard you? You should have said so earlier. No, Yinji didn't wait for her to refuse. He directly put down the pool cue and sat down beside little Chi. You were the one who said that you wanted to play with me. If you really want to play with me, then focus on improving your grades. You and I both know that if you come out with me just to fool around, then the school and your parents will soon intervene. How awesome is it that I can lead the daughter of the Sheng family astray? Little Chi was stunned. I promised to bring you to play with some good stuff. Can't you just do your homework properly? After little Chi heard this, she snatched the exercise book and started doing it again. 10 minutes later, she returned it to He Yinji. Is this okay? After He Yinji finished reading, he was even more puzzled. Why are you pretending in front of me if you know how to do it? Are you afraid that I won't let you play? She has a good family background, a beautiful face, and excellent grades. How hateful is that? This little girl is so awesome. He Yinji couldn't stop laughing. I'll bet another 10 questions. After you finish them, I'll teach you how to play billiards. You mean it? He Yinji nodded very seriously. Then, he stood next to little Chi and bet on the questions for her. At this moment, little Chi leaned on the table and looked at He Yinji without saying a word. After a long while, however, she heard He Yinji's annoying voice ring in her ears. You must be very proud to have such a handsome and capable husband, right? Chapter 1031. Little Chi's shadow bodyguard was outside the billiard hall, looking very helpless. Looking at the time, it was already 9 o'clock in the evening, but Miss Lin had not come out yet. It should be known that this place was full of crooks and honest people, and the social relations were extremely complicated. Thinking of this, Chung Hui could only bite the bullet and barge in, claiming to be little Chi's parent. The curator was in a dilemma. After all, if it were any other hooligan, he would have sent them away directly, but this was the little girl's parent. Therefore, the curator could only point to the private room where the two of them were. After Chung Hui heard that, his face darkened. He angrily walked over and kicked open the door of the private room. When he saw the scene inside, he was completely embarrassed. This was because his mistress was obediently sitting on the chair doing her homework, while He Yinji was lying on the sofa reading words to her. For a moment, the scene was extremely awkward. Little Chi looked up at her bodyguard and immediately said, Uncle Chung, give me another half an hour. Also, pay for the broken door. Oh. Chung Hui immediately left the room respectfully. When He Yinji saw this, he laughed so hard that his shoulders kept shaking. He's your bodyguard? What? He's very powerful, a national champion in Sanda, boxing, and wushu. Little Chi raised her chin and answered, he's loyal, but a little honest. In the future, I will protect my wife. After saying that, He Yinji threw away the English book in his hand. Let's go. I'll take you out for half an hour. Little Chi immediately packed up her stationery and school bag and walked out of the private room with He Yinji. As for the others, they were also surprised. She thought the child's parents would be able to catch some erotic scenes when they went in, but she never imagined that the great young master, he would actually bring the little girl to the billiard hall to do her homework. It's not impossible, right? Right? Then, He Yinji brought little Chi to the side of the billiard table. He jumped onto the stage and told little Chi with a smile, I taught you these things. Don't tell your father. Huh? TSK, if my dad wants to know, he doesn't need me to tell him. As long as you follow the rules, he won't do anything to you. How am I unruly? He Yinji jumped off the table. He held the billiard cue in one hand and little Chi's fist in the other. Does this count? Chung Hui's forehead twitched when he saw this. Should he stop it or not? Forget it. It was better not to go up. After all, his young mistress was also top-notch in martial arts. Since she did not resist, it meant that she did not hate him. You're so bad. Little Chi did not struggle because she found it new. He Yinji turned around and wrapped his arms around her. Is this the first day you met me? If it's going to be bad, it's going to be bad thoroughly. However, little Chi grabbed his arm and threw him over her shoulder. Wow. Everyone present was shocked. Someone actually dared to throw He Yinji. Most importantly, she dared. He Yinji sat on the ground, his posture handsome. I knew you were hiding it. Your own husband, yet you didn't go easy on him. Are you still teaching? Little Chi held the billiard cue and asked with her chin raised. Teach, what a difficult wild girl to tame. After saying that, Hyinji stood up. He did not do it on purpose and became serious. After all, he would definitely do what he promised. Chung Hui stood to the side, his heart hanging in midair. These two ancestors were really living ancestors. How was he going to explain it to Master Xiao? However, he did not expect that when the time came, Hyinji would push little Qi to Chung Hui. Go home, good child. Chapter 1032. Little Qi did not linger on anyone. She carried her school bag and walked to Chung Hui. Let's go, Uncle Hui. Chung Hui subconsciously glanced at Hyinji. He felt that this child was very bad, but he also felt that there was something different about him. After the two of them walked out of the billiard hall, Chung Hui said to little Qi in fear, Miss, it's better not to come to such a dangerous place in the future. I won't be able to explain it to Master Xiao. You know that I won't lie. Moreover, that child, Hyinji, looks like a high-level criminal. Little Qi smiled calmly and said to Chung Hui, just tell my dad the truth. Can I? Of course. Because the devil is your daughter, Uncle Chung Hui. Only little Qi and Hyinji knew best that they were actually the same kind of people. She looked innocent and lively, but she was actually very mature. How could Master Xiao not know what his daughter was capable of? After little Qi returned home, Sheng Xiao had just come out of the study. The father and daughter had a tacit understanding. Wait for me in the study. Where's Mom? She's out in the field. I'll pick her up later. Master Zhao's words were calm. Little Qi obediently entered the study. A moment later, she saw Master Xiao take Mu Chi-Chi's coat and return to the study to have a heart-to-heart talk with his daughter. Puppy love? No, I just think it's fun. Little Qi immediately explained. You're not allowed to deal with Hyinji. Is your dad that free? Master Xiao frowned. I don't object to you having dealings with Hyinji, but you have to know your limits. Some things can only happen at the right age. If he can't even do this, I'll have to doubt your taste. Then, you won't care if he takes me racing, takes me to the billiard hall, or even more. You have your own bottom line. Sheng Xiao trusted his daughter very much. I only have one request. You can't let your mother be sad. Your illness when you were 9 years old almost killed her heart. I don't want to repeat it a second time. I know. Little Qi nodded. I can't bear to. Go back to your room and rest. I'll go pick up your mother. I'll go too. Little Qi immediately raised her hand. Dad, are you relieved? When I was young, I always wanted to marry you. Nonsense. Master Xiao did not object to little Qi and Hyinji's interaction. What did this mean? He had already investigated Hyinji's 18 generations of ancestors. Moreover, he had also carefully studied Hyinji as a person. Of course, it was only limited to the two of them. If he wanted to do anything else, that would depend on his ability. Most importantly, Hyinji had more or less the shadow of him from back then. He would never misjudge a person. Some people might seem bad or unreasonable, but in fact, the fanaticism in his heart was unimaginable. As for whether Hyinji was really as he had imagined, only time would give him the answer. After a while, the father and daughter sat in the car and chatted. Dad, why don't you like me playing with Tang Xiaobao? There's nothing I don't like. Serious people are boring. I can't bring you to experience a different life. He was disdainful of Tang Xiaobao's routine. Then you regret meeting my mother later, right? I didn't protect her since she was young. Master Xiao did not say anything. Ever since little Qi was 5 years old, he had seen through his daughter's nature. She was definitely not a good baby. Sure enough, all these years, only Mu Chi-Chi felt that her daughter was obedient and well-behaved. In fact, little Qi was too smart. Even an adult was only SOSO. Therefore, he never thought that little Qi would be at a disadvantage if she stayed together with Hyinji. His daughter did not mean that. Even 10 Hyanzis would not be able to shake her. And the way he doted on little Qi was the same as how he doted on Mu Chi-Chi. That person was right for his daughter. This was a conversation in secret between the father and daughter of the Sheng family. Chapter 1033. The next day in class, Hyinji and little Seven acted as if nothing had happened. It was as if the incident at the billiard hall had never happened. One slept as usual, and the other packed up her stationery. Afternoon, the new transfer student sat in the front row with a lunchbox in her hand. Then, she reached behind and poked Yinji's shoulder. Yinji, I made a lunchbox for you myself. Yinji, little Seven watched the show. Yinji, take a look. You'll definitely like it. Yinji, little Seven curled her lips and continued to watch the show. And Ruoli did not give up and continued to poke Yinji's back. Finally, she ignited his anger, so he stood up irritably and looked at her. Give it to me. And Ruoli was very surprised and quickly handed over her satisfactory work. However, in the next second, the lunchbox was sent to the back row. Yinji even threatened others. Eat it clean. If you don't, I'll beat you up. The little boy held the lunchbox and quickly opened it and took a big bite. Satisfied? That's what I made for you. And Ruoli was very disappointed. Do you really need me to make it so clear? Yinji rubbed his hair and looked at her impatiently. I like to chase wild girls. It's best if they're flat-chested and cold. They like to choke people and dare to ride on my motorcycle. If they have the guts to step on my back, I'll call them queen. I don't like cheap pursuits. I like people to train me. A woman like you can't satisfy me at all. Do you understand? Flat-chested, frigid. Little Seven immediately rolled her eyes. Your whole family is flat-chested. After hearing Yinji's request, the other party immediately vowed, I can learn. Yinji was unmoved. He even revealed a playful expression. Then, he tilted his head and said to Sheng Qingwan, slap me. Little Seven had to satisfy such a request. Therefore, she immediately raised her hand and slapped him without hesitation. Of course, she couldn't slap a man's face, so her palm landed on Yinji's neck. The surrounding people were instantly stunned. Perhaps only little Seven would dare to treat Yinji like this. Do you think you can learn this? Let me tell you, the more she hits me, the more excited I get. I'm that kind of pervert. Go home and rest. After saying that, Yinji lay down again and continued to sleep. And Ruoli looked at Yinji, then at little Chi. His gaze kept wandering between the two of them. However, little Seven acted as if nothing had happened and shrugged. Why are you looking at me? He asked for it. I like him. How could I hit my lover? Little Chi took a long breath. Classmate, I hit him. I haven't complained that my hands hurt yet. And Ruoli felt very hurt. She returned to her seat, feeling wronged. It had not been easy for her to convince her parents to transfer to this school. She had thought that she would be able to get close to them, but she had not expected that she would still be looked down upon. Is it wrong to like someone and want to follow them? Little Chi shook her head. She really could not understand such infatuation. However, after class, Yinji suddenly grabbed little Chi's right palm under the table and gently rubbed it a few times. Humph! She was indeed a masochist. Although she did not hit him hard, it was just a sound. Just as school was about to end, Yinji suddenly wrote this on the draft paper. Wait for me at the back of the mountain after class. Bring your language homework today. Cough, cough. After little Chi read it, she almost bit her tongue. Was this person addicted to adultery? Chapter 1034. For 2 days in a row, Yinji and little Chi didn't go to night self-study. When the old witch saw this, she sighed. Yinji was first, and little Chi was last. The two of them were not to be trifled with. In any case, she didn't expect little Chi to really improve. That child didn't have the slightest bit of initiative, so she didn't care too much about the two of them. After nightfall, they went to the mountain behind the school. There was clearly a protective fence on it, but Yinji went up, and little Chi actually went up as well. When little Chi was halfway up the mountain with her school bag in hand, she saw Yinji sitting on an empty rock. He just leaned back with his arm propped up as he looked at the brightly lit school. He was slightly lost in thought. The night wind lifted the stray hair on his forehead, and he looked a little noble. You're really here. There's no one around. Yinji heard the noise and tilted his head to look at little Chi. A faint smile appeared on his lips. Little Chi threw her school bag in front of him and was a little unhappy. What can you bring me to play here? A kiss? Yinji said as he raised his head. Little Chi slapped him. Be serious. Yinji grabbed little Chi and pulled her to sit down beside him. Then, he wrapped his arms around her and took out her language homework from her school bag. God knows why I gave up my beautiful nightlife to teach you homework here. You don't want to? Little Chi leaned against Yinji and frowned. At this distance, I'm willing. When the two of them faced each other, they could see the size and color of each other's pupils. However, little Chi didn't refuse. Although her heart was a little fast, it was precisely because of this that she wanted to play with Yinji. She wanted to know what the different life that her father was talking about was. Perhaps it was because she was a little lost in thought. Yinji smiled and said, "If you look at me so seriously, I won't be able to help it. I want to kiss you." Little Chi immediately covered her mouth and said, "My dad said that there are some things that can only be done at the right age." After Yinji heard this, he rubbed little Chi's head and smiled. "Your dad is right, but how old do you think you can kiss?" "At least 16. Do you think I'm a god?" "I can endure it for so long," Yinji muttered. Then he opened the homework. "Why don't you like writing essays?" "What's there to write?" Little Chi couldn't understand. "Don't you have anything to share with others?" After saying that, Yinji secretly kissed little Chi's face. "For example, don't you feel honored to be kissed by me?" Yinji, who all the girls in the school ignored, kissed you. Little Chi took the opportunity to kiss him back. "What about you? How do you feel now?" Yinji froze. After a while, he took the initiative to move away from little Chi. "You're a devil. Bad students are afraid of being kissed." "This is your first time, right?" Surprisingly, Yinji did not refute. "Can't bad students save their first kiss for someone important?" Yinji asked very seriously. Then, he suddenly asked little Chi, "You only approached me because you found it fresh, right?" "Miss Shung, actually, worse than me." After little Chi heard this, she finally felt that there was something wrong with his words. She immediately asked, "What about you? Why are you willing to stay with me?" Chapter 1035. It's fun. Yinji leaned back with his arm, but he stretched his head forward. "I really want to see you tortured by your homework." Little Chi slapped a workbook over. "You haven't told me what you can bring me to play tonight. You'll know later." After saying that, Yinji smiled evilly. Then he took out his phone, turned on the flashlight, and sketched out the key points for little Chi. "I'll give you a question first." No matter what, little Chi felt that he was not serious. This person had a lot of bad intentions and was always playing with her. "If I really get into the top 10, is there any ultimate gift?" Little Chi immediately asked when she saw that he had sketched out the key points. "What do you want? My body? That's a rare treasure." Yinji raised his head and asked, "Be serious." Little Chi immediately snorted. "When the time comes, I'll teach you an exciting, thrilling, and unforgettable game. I guarantee you'll like it. How about it?" Yinji made his conditions. "What good will it do you if I get into the top 10? You're working so hard." "I already said that I have to raise my own wife," Yinji said matter-of-factly. Then, he returned the textbook with the key points to little Chi. "Go memorize it." Little Chi looked at Yinji in confusion. This person was really unpredictable. He was naturally bad, but he was full of bottom line for her. He liked to tease her, but he also liked to help her. He was really a contradiction. Just as the two of them were exchanging textbooks, a slightly plump security guard with a flashlight caught up to them while whistling. "What are you doing here?" Little Chi was shocked. Yinji, on the other hand, was used to holding little Chi's hand. "Run! Do you want to be caught and given a big demerit in front of the whole school? Is this the thrilling excitement you were talking about?" Little Chi couldn't help but look back as Yinji pulled her. She saw two security guards chasing after them. "I like to see Miss Jiao panic in my arms." After saying that, Yinji jumped out of the fence with little Chi. "Stop! Which class are you from? How dare you date here? When I catch you, I'll definitely expel you." "Hold it right there." Students nowadays are getting bolder and bolder. In fact, both of them were squeezed into the gap between the two walls. Yinji supported himself with his arm and covered little Chi's mouth. He was afraid that her breathing would attract the two old things. It wasn't until the footsteps of the two security guards were far away that he let go of little Chi and smiled. Don't be nervous, they've left. Little Chi immediately kicked him. Try taking advantage of me again. Hyunji took the kick and grabbed little Chi's wrist. Then, he pulled her into his arms and hugged her tightly. This is what you call taking advantage of my stupid miss. Little Chi's face immediately turned red. Let go. Since you want to play with me, you won't be able to go back to your peaceful life, Sheng Qingwan. With that, Hyunji finally let go of Sheng Qingwan. Little Chi was slightly stunned because she felt the warmth that Hyunji had left behind. Soon, Hyunji disappeared into the small crack, leaving little Chi standing alone in the crack, lost in thought. Could this be what Dad meant by a different life? Subconsciously, little Chi touched the position of her heart. Bang, 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 her heart was beating fast, because there was no one else as dangerous as Hyunji. Chapter 1036. Late at night by the sea, Annie Hong tidied up the house and shouted towards the pavilion by the sea, "Young master, it's time to eat." Hyunji was sitting on a rock by the sea. When he heard the shout, he turned his head. Got it. Why have you been home so late in the past 2 days? Your grandmother is asking. Annie Hong took a coat for him. Are you with that little girl from before? Hyunji nodded as he walked back. I'm with her. I've never seen you look like this when you mention a little girl. It seems like you really like her, Annie Hong said with a smile. Young master, I know that all these years, you seem to be doing whatever you want outside and keep making it look like you're in society. In fact, you just want to prevent second uncle from coming back to fight for Sir and Madam's inheritance. Does that little girl know about this? Hyunji shook his head. There's no need to drag innocent people into this. It was only at this time that Hyunji could take off his armor in front of his family. He abandoned his fierceness and looked very gentle. That child is the child of a rich family? Andy Hong asked tentatively. Yes, she is a bodyguard. This was also the reason why Hyunji indulged himself time and time again. Because even if someone dared to touch him, no one would dare to touch little Chi. Bring her home to play some other day? It's up to her, Hyunji said lightly. He had clearly not expressed anything seriously to little Chi because he had his concerns. However, in his heart, he truly treated little Chi as his little girlfriend. Sai, look at you. You always have to carefully protect the things you like. I'm used to it. Hyunji's expression was still very indifferent. Only when he thought of little Chi panicking in his arms would he smile. A cute little wife, wasn't she? Late at night, little Chi was doing her homework under the nightlight. This shocked Mu Chi, who had returned home, so much that her jaw almost dropped. Didn't we agree that my child doesn't need to study at night? Little Chi immediately covered her homework and looked at Mu Chi with some resentment. Mom, do you want me to be like you? Not even knowing how to write a love letter? Yo, who do you fancy? Mu Chi sat beside her daughter and secretly looked at her language textbook. She found that there was another kind of handwriting besides her daughter's dog-crawling handwriting. I'm about to take the exam. Don't disturb me. Little Chi quickly covered her textbook. Look at how you're trying to cover it up. It's exactly the same as when I fell in love with your dad. Your mom knows the feeling of having a crush the best. A little Chi froze. Usually, she could always cover up her thoughts in front of Mu Chi, but she had forgotten that her mother was also very shrewd. The reason why Mu Chi did not care was only because Master Xiao had intervened, but it did not mean that she did not know anything. I won't object if you really fall in love, but you can't do what you shouldn't do, understand? Mu Chi hugged her daughter's head and kissed it. Don't make me worry. Little Chi immediately softened. Mom, I know what I'm doing. Mu Chi nodded and suddenly got up from the sofa. Her tone was a little regretful. But I really don't believe that with my genes suppressing you, you can write any shocking essay. Ha ha ha. Little Chi was speechless. She couldn't blame society for being unlucky. She could only blame her mother's genes for being useless. Chapter 1037. Soon, Jinchuan High School welcomed the midterm exam. However, before the exam started, Hyunji was still sleeping soundly on the table. No one knew that Yinji had used all kinds of methods to give little Chi all kinds of tutoring. This was because the two of them had almost no interaction in the past half a month. Not only that, but they did not even have classes during the evening self-study session. Through this mutual tutoring session, I've seen many students in the class improve rapidly. Of course, that's except for a few. As she said this, the old witch subconsciously glanced in the direction of little Chi and Yinji. I hope that everyone can get good results in this midterm exam. As for a few people, I don't have any hopes. I'm prepared to be at the bottom. Little Chi couldn't be bothered with the old witch. Before the exam, she poked Yinji's shoulder. When are you going to fulfill your promise to me? Yinji thought for a moment and supported his chin with his palm. He looked at little Chi cynically. You can't wait to be alone with me. Be serious. Little Chi leaned against his arm with her elbow. On the day the exam results come out, Yinji answered her with a serious expression. It's a deal. The next day, the midterm exam was held in the middle school. As someone who had a hand at her papers early every time, this time was no exception. However, just as she walked out of the classroom, she saw Yinji walking out of another classroom. He was still handsome and cool, looking as if he didn't want to talk to anyone. Soon, he brushed past Little Chi. Little Chi took out her phone and sent Yinji a text message. See you tonight? Tonight. I'm going to see another girl, Yinji replied quickly. Little Chi looked at Yinji's back and frowned without saying anything. She couldn't understand this man. This was the second mystery in her life. The first was her father, and the second was Yinji. He was always near and far, making it hard for people to figure him out. Little Chi felt uncomfortable, but she didn't know that the feeling of inexplicable anger when she thought of Yinji was called jealousy. On the second day after the exam, Yinji disappeared. He didn't even come to class. The school had another rumor about him. This time, it wasn't about fighting. It was just that they saw him take a girl to the hospital. No one dared to mention the obscure part. After all, Yinji had warned them seriously. No one dared to provoke such a dangerous person. Little Chi held her phone and did not take the initiative to contact him. It was not until 3 days after Yinji disappeared that he sent her a text message. After school, on the mountain behind the school, I want to see my wife. Who cares about you? After school, Little Chi got into her family's limousine. However, throughout the entire process, Little Chi was restless. Miss, what happened? Chang Hui saw that she wanted to say something but hesitated, so he quickly asked, Did that brat Yinji make you angry? Uncle Hui, let's turn around and go to school. Little Chi suddenly changed her mind. Although Chang Hui didn't understand, he still brought Little Chi back to school. At that moment, the sky was already dark. When Little Chi climbed up the back mountain, the entire night sky was already revealed. Yinji, with a face full of injuries, was sitting on a white rock. When he saw Little Chi appear, he immediately smiled. I knew you couldn't let go of me. I saw you get into the car from here. Another fight? Little Chi crossed her arms and looked at him calmly. Yinji couldn't stand her coldness, so he grabbed her arm and pulled her into his arms. Little girl, are you made of ice? Chapter 1038. The person who disappeared without a word was me. Little Chi struggled to shake off Yinji's hand. This time, Yinji did not hold her hand. He directly pressed Little Chi's head down and let her lean against his chest. Don't move. Do you think I'm very fun? Little Chi suddenly pushed Yinji away. You can disappear whenever you want, and you can see me whenever you want. Yinji's eyes suddenly widened. After a while, he suddenly laughed. Xiaowan, do you care about me a lot? Who cares about you? I have a reason to fight, but even when I'm fighting, I'm still thinking about you. Yinji held Little Chi's chin and explained seriously, the first thing I did after the fight, I came to look for you. Bah! Little Chi snorted loudly. What proper reason can there be for a fight? Besides, don't you have my phone number? Don't you know how to send a text message or make a call? You disappeared for a few days. Who knows if you're alive or dead? You have a lot of resentment. Yinji smiled in satisfaction and then lay on the ground. It feels good to have someone worry about me. Yinji, I know you're playing with me, and so am I. Once you lose the novelty, I don't want to play with you anymore. After saying that, little Chi turned around. She admitted that she had said it too harshly, but she was really angry. She did not know what this was. However, Yinji suddenly stood up and grabbed her wrist. I promise to tell you wherever I go, but I can't promise that I won't fight. After little Chi heard this, half of her anger subsided, but she did not turn around. I'll tell you the reason for the fight, but not now, because I have my reasons. Can you understand? Yinji, what exactly are we doing? Little Chi was a little confused. They were not like classmates, and they were not like lovers. It was strange. It seems that you want to control me. Yinji returned to his cynical attitude. Don't worry, I'll control you. The results will be out tomorrow. You can't go back on your words. Also, although you're the first, you can't skip class so often. You're the one who said it, so you still have to abide by it. Don't make things meaningless. When we graduate, I'll be the only one left. Perhaps even little Chi herself did not realize how much she sounded like a girlfriend. I know, my wife. Yinji reached out and rubbed little Chi's hair. Girls shouldn't be angry. Go and take a look at your injuries. Little Chi waved his hand away and stood up on her own. Got it. He's really hard to coax. If you're not easy to coax, then don't. After saying that, little Chi carried her school bag and went down the mountain. Yinji looked at little Chi's back as she left and smiled helplessly. Then, he covered his heart and called his brother. He had to go to the hospital this time. People in the underworld didn't care about your background, but they valued your loyalty. Otherwise, why would others stand up for you when you were in trouble? Yinji was guarding the inheritance. Outside, there was a second uncle who was eyeing him covetously. If he hadn't gotten into a fight and let his second uncle know that he had no bottom line, he and his grandmother would have been eaten alive by his second uncle long ago. And the reason why he was safe and sound with his grandmother was all because of his fists. At the age of 13, this was the only way he could think of to protect his family, and that was to become a bully. Chapter 1039. That night, Yinji was lying in the hospital. His brother outside was puzzled. Where did you go after the fight? If you had gone to the hospital earlier, you wouldn't have suffered so much. Who knows where I went? Yinji clutched his chest and blinked at the other party. He was eager to go home just to relieve his woman's uneasiness. Are you okay being alone in the hospital? Do you want me to find a girl to take care of you? Yinji shook his head. No need. If the little girl found out, what would happen? Then I won't care about you. Just stay in the hospital by yourself. After saying that, his companion went to clean up his wounds. Yinji lay on the hospital bed. All he could think of was little Chi's little face. His parents' genes were really good. She was now a little beauty who was good at seducing people's souls and causing him to go insane. As he thought about it, Yinji felt sleepy. However, a message from little Chi made him perk up again. Have you treated the wound? Why don't you do it yourself? Yinji supported his head with one hand. Suddenly, he felt that the wound was not so difficult to bear. At home? Yes, he's lying in bed. Little Chi did not ask any more questions because after Yinji left, she had asked Shang Hui to follow Yinji. He was clearly in the hospital now. However, little Chi did not expose him. She only replied, "Go to sleep." "Miss you, aren't you going up?" Cheng Hui followed behind little Chi and asked. They were already downstairs of the hospital. "No, let's go back." It seemed that after the fight, the first thing this person did was to look for her. Little Chi's anger subsided, and she completely lost her temper. The next morning, little Chi entered the classroom and saw Yinji, who was covered in injuries, sleeping soundly on the table. Last night, Cheng Hui had asked the doctor about it. If it were an adult, Yinji would have to lie in bed for at least a week with the injuries on his body. Could it be that he wanted to keep his promise with her? Thinking of this, little Chi took out a medicine bottle from her school bag and placed it beside her stationery box. She did not say who she was going to give it to. She just muttered, "You only know how to show off." Yinji did not move, but the corners of his mouth curled into a slight smile. After the class bell rang, he slowly propped himself up and said, "I'll check your results today. You don't have to worry. How are you going to bring me to play exciting games in your current state?" Little Chi glared at him. "Even if I can't move my hands and feet, I can still make you feel good." Yinji whispered into Little Chi's ear. Little Chi, damn it, getting so close. Very quickly, the old witch entered the classroom with a report card. Surprisingly, her expression wasn't as strict as it used to be. Ahem, the results of this midterm exam have actually exceeded my expectations, especially for a few students. When the old witch said this, she subconsciously looked at Little Chi's position. When the test paper came out, no one believed it. The teacher even thought that Little Chi had plagiarized. However, when they saw how she solved the question, they all agreed that she had answered it seriously. Next, I'll announce the results of the exam. Yinji, full marks, fully deserving of first place. I'll be happier if there are fewer fights. Second place. The teacher looked around and then announced very seriously, Sheng Qingwan. Hearing Little Chi's name, everyone revealed expressions of disbelief. How is this possible? Did she plagiarize? She was the last in the last monthly exam. Chapter 1040. Many students looked at him with astonished gazes. This was too unbelievable. Was this cheating? How is it possible to become the first in such a short period of time? I know what you're all thinking, but the teachers have already verified it. She took the exam herself. The old witch dispelled everyone's concerns. Although it's a little unbelievable, Sheng Qingwan didn't cheat. Little Chi rolled her eyes. Did she need it? But I think she just wasn't serious in the past. After hearing the old witch's words, Yinji secretly grabbed Little Chi's palm and said, "You're working so hard just to be alone with me?" Could Little Chi say that she didn't intend to work so hard? She just wanted to try and see how far she could go if she took the exam seriously. Wait for me at the back door after school. Little Chi nodded slightly and broke free from Yinji's hot palm. However, the sudden change from the last to the first in line made the whole class look at her differently. Some were jealous. Who doesn't know that she's the young lady of the Sheng family? What kind of cheating artifact can't she get? Some were puzzled. Who has she been pretending for such a long time? Why did she suddenly stop pretending? Some were amused. Rich people can buy anything to play with. Isn't it all about money? Even the few girls who often talked to Little Chi on weekdays were eccentric after class and hugged their small groups. This was because no one associated Yinji with Little Chi. Therefore, no one dared to speak ill of Little Chi in front of Yinji. When Little Chi was no longer in her seat, they would curse her to their heart's content, especially the boys and girls in the front row. They were originally the second and third in the class, but they were suddenly squeezed out by Little Chi. They were extremely unhappy. What a scheming B***TCH. Since she's pretending, why not pretend to the end? She stole my second place, and I'll be beaten up when I go home. That's right. Rich people are really annoying. Yinji was lying on the table when he heard these words. He suddenly stood up and kicked the chairs of the two of them. He was furious. Are you done? Everyone was shocked and looked at Yinji in fear. They didn't even dare to breathe loudly. However, Yinji went straight to their desks and sat on them. He said to the boy first, "If you can't win, then you can't win. Can't you afford to lose? And you, 2 days ago, you just reached behind to borrow money, and now you know that rich people hate you?" The girl immediately blushed. Seeing this, Yinji stood up and said to the whole class, "All of you listen up. If anyone dares to talk about the results in my ear again, I'll stuff the test paper into his mouth and let him experience what school violence is." For a moment, the classroom was silent. Yinji was satisfied. Only then did he sit back down and lean on the table. Little Chi came back from the bathroom and saw that the whole class was abnormally quiet. At this moment, Yinji finally understood why Little Chi had to pretend that her results were not good and deliberately take the last place. The human heart was such a wonderful thing. Soon, it was time for school to end. Yinji had enough sleep. He picked up his school bag and got up. At this time, many girls in the class fearlessly handed over plasters and medicine bottles. And Ruoli even chased after him with the medicine box. Yinji. This time, Yinji did not hesitate. He directly snatched the medicine box and threw it into the trash can. "Stop harassing me. I can't be bothered to deal with you." Chapter 1041. This time, Enroli was not scared away. Instead, she stood in front of Yinji and said firmly, I can become the kind of girl you like. That's even worse. There's a saying that you should know. It's called imitating others and making a fool of yourself. After saying that, Yinji lowered his head and threw all the things on the table into the trash can. However, he put the medicine beside Little Chi's stationery box into his school bag and left the classroom with quick steps. Little Chi secretly curled her lips. She watched the whole thing and packed her school bag as if nothing had happened. However, she did not expect Enroli to turn around and point at Little Chi. Why did he accept the medicine bottle you gave him? After Little Chi heard this, she rolled her eyes. Are you sure you saw it clearly? I saw it clearly. I swear. Enroli was so aggrieved that she started crying. He put the medicine bottle you brought in his jacket pocket. Please, I put it on my desk. I didn't intend to give it to him. Little Chi carried her school bag on her shoulder. It's a must-have for me to practice Sonda. Do you want to try? Enroli was stunned because Yinji had indeed taken a medicine bottle from Little Chi's desk. If there's nothing else, can you make way? Little Chi looked a little impatient. Enroli felt embarrassed enough. She covered her face and ran out of the classroom. Little Chi was a little speechless. She shook her head, looked at the time, and quickly left the classroom. However, because she was in a hurry, she did not hear the discussion behind her. It's all because she's lucky to be sitting next to Yinji. I really want to find someone to teach Sheng Qingwan a lesson. I hate looking at her face. By the way, I know a few hooligans. Little Chi quickly rushed to the back door of the school. At this time, Yinji was sitting on the motorcycle with his helmet on. He looked very handsome. Get on. I'll take you somewhere. Little Chi threw her school bag to him and quickly walked over, directly getting on his motorcycle. Yinji immediately sped up and brought Little Chi to his secret holy land. Little Chi saw him enter a small forest and immediately felt a little nervous. Why did you bring me here? Yinji stopped the motorcycle and immediately smiled. I told you to call for help, but no one answered. Do you want to deepen your dark circles? Little Chi raised her fist and threatened. All right, I won't tease you anymore. Usually, when I'm in a bad mood, I come here to play this exciting game. It's a mountain cross-country. My sweet Miss Sheng, do you dare play? But I don't have a motorcycle. Little Chi looked around. There was no one here, only she and Yinji. What are you thinking? Today, I'll show you how to ride a motorcycle. With that, Yinji gestured to his back seat. Get on. Little Chi didn't move. She was worried. What? You don't dare. Little Chi was agitated and immediately stepped into Yinji's back seat. Yinji put on his helmet and smiled. Hold on tight. If someone falls later, I won't be responsible. Little Chi subconsciously tilted her body and reached out to hug Yinji's waist. She didn't expect him to have muscles at the age of 13 or 14. Thinking about it, it was also because of the frequent fights. Let's go. Little Chi looked fearless, but in fact, if she really encountered such a thrilling and exciting thing, she would still scream. Yinji's speed was very fast, and the downhill road was almost all curves. Little Chi could only hug Yinji's waist tightly. At this moment, she didn't dare to think too much. Even when they reached the foot of the mountain and the motorcycle had stopped, Little Chi didn't dare to let go. When Yinji saw this, he couldn't help but ask with a chuckle, How long are you going to hug me for? Chapter 1042. Little Chi quickly let go and said with some resentment, You're the most annoying. Don't you like it? Yinji couldn't help but tilt his head back and smile. It's your first time, so it's normal for you to be afraid. When you learn how to play in the future, you'll definitely be addicted to this game. Little Chi relaxed and sat on the motorcycle, swinging her legs. It's dark. Do you want to go to my house for dinner? Yinji pointed at the house not far away. Right there. Who's in your house? Me, Grandma. Annie Hong, the auntie you met last time. Yinji put on his helmet again and started the motorcycle. I'll send you home at 9 o'clock tonight. Little Chi didn't refuse, but her gaze once again fell on Yinji's waist. Now that they were on flat ground, did she still need to hug Yinji? Perhaps he was deliberately teasing Little Chi, but Yinji deliberately made a sharp turn. Little Chi immediately hugged his waist and pressed her face against his waist. You did it on purpose. If you're more self-conscious, I won't need to play tricks on you. Yenji, who was riding in front, revealed a confident smile. Soon, the two of them returned to the small house by the sea. However, Yenji pushed gently and saw that the iron door of his house was open. Therefore, he instantly put away his playful expression and became serious and nervous. Little Chi also saw that the yard was unusual because the flowers and plants were everywhere. Yenji was worried about his grandmother, so he ran straight into the house. He saw Annie Hong sitting on the sofa, slightly injured. Yenji, your grandmother is fine. It was obvious that she was seeking revenge. Sheng Qingwan, go home immediately. Yenji turned his head to look at Little Chi with a serious expression that had never been seen before. Come to class tomorrow. Little Chi didn't pester him and directly called Cheng Hui. It was a matter of a man's dignity, and Little Chi actually understood it very well. He was clearly only a 13-year-old boy, but he had lived a daunting life. Yenji held her palm and nodded. Be careful on the road. Soon, Cheng Hui drove over to pick her up. Little Chi didn't hesitate and immediately left the small courtyard. However, along the way, Little Chi didn't say a word. Miss, did that brat make you unhappy again? Uncle Hui, if I say that I can help Yenji, he will definitely think that I'm humiliating him, right? Little Chi did not answer, but asked instead. Her delicate brows were furrowed, and she looked especially like a little old woman. Men really don't like it when women interfere in their affairs. That's related to a man's dignity. Cheng Hui answered truthfully. Men are born to shoulder things. Look at Master Xiao. But I'll be worried. Other than worry, there were other voices. There was no future between her and Yenji. Yenji was like the wind that could disappear at any time. Perhaps he knew this himself, so he never told Ming Qi to be his little girlfriend. The future? Little Qi was very confused. Why was she thinking so far away? Could it be that liking someone would last a lifetime? Inside the hut, Yenji and Annie Hong were packing their things. At this moment, Annie Hong said from behind him, Yenji, maybe we should move again. I'm sorry, I couldn't protect you. Yenji half squatted on the ground, his mood very low. In the future, such a thing will never happen again. You're only 13 years old. Don't be too harsh on yourself. Walk the path of a normal person. Only then will your grandmother be at ease. In the darkness, Yenji's expression was slightly self-deprecating. But there are more and more things I want to protect. Chapter 1043. After returning home, Little Chi lay on the bed, but she couldn't fall asleep. Her mind was filled with the image of Yenji asking her to leave. Did she leave too decisively? Thinking of this, Little Chi took out her phone and sent Yenji a text message. Is everything okay at home? Unexpectedly, Yenji replied in a moment, and he was as sloppy as ever. Can I interpret it as you missing me? I'm not joking. Yenji called in the next second. I'm not joking either. At this moment, I know that you miss me, and I feel much better. If you can give me a kiss and a hug, I'll be in a great mood. Little Chi, that meant that she was fine, although she knew that she couldn't hear the truth from Yenji's mouth. Are you going to school tomorrow? Yes, I have to see you, Yenji said matter-of-factly. Medicine, remember to apply it. It's very effective. My mother made it. After Yenji heard this, he took out a small medicine bottle from his pocket and sniffed it. This smell is the same as the fragrance on your body. This way, won't I be tainted by your smell? Little Chi ignored his teasing and just hung up the phone. Go to sleep. See you tomorrow. Okay, go to sleep, Princess Shang. Recently, Yenji had been very keen on giving Little Chi all kinds of nicknames, such as Miss Stupid and Princess Shang, but none of them sounded as good as when he called her his wife. Little Chi put down her phone and felt much more at ease. However, Yenji wasn't having an easy time. His heart was tormented. He knew that he had made Little Chi very uneasy. However, he couldn't act like a man and make a promise in a dignified manner, because he was afraid. The next day, Little Chi woke up early and arrived at school, but she didn't see any trace of Yinji. He either didn't come or arrived early, and he would definitely keep his promise. But today, he went back on his word. Little Chi originally thought that he wouldn't appear, but during the first class, he appeared at the door of the classroom with his school bag. I thought you weren't coming. Of course, I have to keep my promise to my wife. I want to deal with some personal matters just now. Yinji put down his school bag and looked at the seat behind him. In fact, he had left a long time ago. It was just that on the way, he heard from a gangster he was familiar with that someone in the school had paid someone to cause trouble for Sheng Qingwan. Had they never seen Little Chi's bodyguard before? Or had he not seen the power of the Sheng family? Therefore, he spent some time riding his motorcycle to find those gangsters. Other than fighting, what other private matters do you have? Yinji didn't explain. He suddenly leaned on the table and looked at Little Chi ambiguously. Of course, there's more. For example, I missed you all night and kissed you in my dream, so I woke up late. Seeing that he was still joking, as usual, Little Chi was completely relieved. She didn't seem to know that someone was looking for trouble with her. However, after lunch break, she heard that the girls in the back row were locked in the restroom and given a good beating. Actually, the 3 girls weren't just taught a lesson. They were also given a warning. Someone knows that you want to touch Sheng Qingwan, so I'm here to warn you. Behave yourself from now on. If you dare to have such thoughts again, you won't be able to leave the bathroom alive. Do you hear me? Chapter 1044. It was also because of this that the 3 girls ran away when they saw Muchichi. Even if they met in class in the afternoon, they still felt quite guilty. When Little Chi saw this, she couldn't help but become suspicious of this matter. So, after the 3rd class, she caught one of the girls and brought her to the playground to question her. Why do you look like a mouse seeing a cat when you see me? Sheng Qingwan, we won't dare to do it again. Don't get people to teach us a lesson, the girl answered, trembling with fear. When Little Chi heard this, she felt that there was a problem, so she asked carefully, We just wanted to find a few people to scare you, but we didn't expect you to find out about it in advance. You even found someone to teach us a lesson. So stop pretending. What kind of good person are you? Now, all the girls in the class hate you. After hearing these words, Little Chi finally understood what was going on. It meant that someone wanted to cause trouble for her, but they were intercepted by someone more ruthless and helped her take revenge. Actually, even if she thought about it, she knew who the person who protected her was. So what if I hate you? Little Chi suddenly grabbed the other party's lapel and tugged hard. If you want revenge in the future, just come and find me. If you're not afraid that your family will go bankrupt, just try it. The other party had never thought that Little Chi would be so domineering. She was so scared that she couldn't say a word, because she knew that to the Sheng family, this was just a matter of moving a finger. Seeing that she was scared, Little Chi let go of her right hand and took 2 steps back. Just go and tell your friends and the so-called girls in the class that I'll fight at any time. After saying that, Little Chi returned to the classroom. At this time, Yinji was sleeping soundly again. Why didn't you tell me? Little Chi also leaned on the table and asked Yinji in a low voice. What? Yinji propped himself up with sleepy eyes. About those gossipy women. Oh, that? I'm protecting my wife. I didn't provoke you, did I? After saying that, Yinji turned around and continued to sleep. I can solve my own problems. In fact, Little Chi just didn't want Yinji to offend more people because of this. If you don't like it, it won't happen again. After all, your Sheng family, no. Little Chi quickly explained, It has nothing to do with my family. It's just, what identity are you using to protect me? This time, Yinji did not answer. It could be considered silence. Actually, you don't know how long you can stay in school, right? Or perhaps, very soon, you will move to another school. At that time, what will I be? Yinji could not answer these questions. That was right. At that time, as soon as they separated, the 2 of them would quickly become strangers. So, don't cause so much trouble for me. After saying this, Little Chi lowered her head. But at this moment, Yinji suddenly raised his head. Even so, I still like to do that. Let's not see each other this afternoon. You're annoying me now, and I'm busy moving. Little Chi didn't say anything. After class, Yinji took his bag and quickly disappeared from Little Chi's sight. Little Chi looked at his back view and felt a little sour in her heart. This was also a feeling she had never experienced before. It made her very uncomfortable, but there was nothing she could do. However, there was a voice in her heart telling her that she didn't want to see Yinji leave just like that, so the next second, she packed her things and chased after him. Then she saw Yinji leaning against the motorcycle at the back door of the school, waiting for her with a helmet in his hand. Chapter 1045. I thought you wouldn't chase after me. Then why wait? Little Chi touched the shoulder strap of her school bag nervously and asked, I still want to wait and see. Yinji handed her the helmet. For you, didn't you say you're moving? I'll go with you. If you don't come home every day, won't my father-in-law and mother-in-law look for you? Yinji saw that she was walking towards his motorcycle, and his tone became relaxed. He couldn't stop teasing Little Chi. They know. Little Chi's face was a little red. If you don't leave now, others will see you. So my father-in-law and mother-in-law already know of my existence. Yinji continued to smile and took the initiative to turn back. He grabbed Little Chi's hand and placed it on his waist. Hold on tight. I won't be responsible if you fall. Little Chi didn't resist. She just hugged him and naturally pressed her face against Yinji's back. Soon, the two of them arrived at the apartment that Yinji was going to move to. Little Chi looked at the surroundings and asked Yinji, Did you move here on purpose? Because this place was only a few kilometers away from the Banyan courtyard. Little Chi would even pass by Yinji's house on her way home. I found it by accident. The surroundings are safe and the facilities are complete. Grandma can find a companion to chat with when she moves in. It's definitely not because of you. Yinji answered with a smile on his lips. However, he said that because he had considered that he could see Little Chi often. The bitterness in his heart after school suddenly turned into sweetness at this moment. Little Chi got off his motorcycle and said to him, I haven't seen your grandma yet. Annie Hong will take grandma back for a few days. I'll let you two meet after things are settled here. Yinji parked his motorcycle, but he didn't go straight into the house. Instead, he took Little Chi around. What are you looking at? I'm checking the surrounding environment and terrain to see if it's safe enough. Yinji stopped in his tracks. Then he took out the key from his school bag and opened the door of his new home. Feel free to look around. Little Chi pushed open the door and entered, but in the next second, Yinji grabbed her arm and pressed her against the wall. Then, he moved closer to her. Do you know that I can do whatever I want of you now? Then you have to ask my fist first. Little Chi didn't panic, nor would she admit that when he approached her, her heart beat faster. I really want to kiss you. Yinji touched the corner of his mouth and let go of Little Chi. The house is a little messy. Help me clean it up? Yes. Little Chi would never admit that she had been seduced by Yinji's action just now. Why is your face so red? It's not summer now. You know the answer. Little Chi glared at him and began to tour the small villa. Little Chi, he said. Little Chi. However, she rolled up her sleeves and began to work. Little T. She, he single quote she, T little, she teat cheat, she tift. You're clearly thinking that it's a miracle that a young lady like me, who doesn't do housework, knows how to do housework. Seeing Little Chi's hair tied up in a bun, Yinji gently touched it. Tied up like this more often in the future. I like it. Who could stand such an ambiguous atmosphere? Little Chi quickly turned her head and looked out of the window. It's getting dark. I'm leaving. I'll send you up. Yinji smiled happily. The little girl was clearly beginning to fall in love. Chapter 1046. In the next few days, Little Chi helped with the moving. Of course, during school, the two of them pretended not to know each other and had nothing to do with each other. Yinji's drawer was still full of love letters as always. However, every day, these love letters would be thrown into the trash can at the back of the classroom. Soon, the school was going to hold the spring sports meet. Yinji, who was famous for fighting, was, of course, signed up for several sport events by the teacher. The intention was to let him spend his extra energy on things that were worth it. Yinji did not object. After all, the only things worth looking forward to in school were physical education and sports. Little Chi also participated in 2 events. One was the 400-meter race, and the other was the 1,500-meter run. 1,500. Hearing the teacher confirm the project, Little Chi frowned. She promised the sports committee that she would participate in 2 events, but she didn't say that she would participate in the 1,500-meter race. The girls in our class are all quite weak. It all depends on Shang Qingwan's performance this time. What delicate. Scheming against people behind their backs was one trick after another. Little Chi rolled her eyes. It wasn't that she didn't want to participate, but her good friend was in the next few days. If you don't want to run, just give up. Yinji saw her doubts and whispered in her ear. Since I've agreed, there's no reason for me to go back on my word. Little Chi answered Yinji calmly. The few behind me are waiting to see me make a fool of myself every day. It's good to let them see my true strength. Well, little girl who doesn't admit defeat. Watch my competition tomorrow morning. Yinji quietly wrote a note to Little Chi. Who wants to look at you? Little Chi snorted. Even so, she still wanted to see what advantage Yinji had on the sports field with his fighting skills. Since you're coming, prepare a towel and mineral water for me. Little Chi was speechless. Wouldn't that be equivalent to publicizing their ambiguous relationship? Don't tell me you want to see me drink water prepared by someone else? Of course not. Little Chi glared at him with a warning gesture. Although the 2 of them had not confirmed their relationship, they had already restrained each other according to the standards of a boyfriend and girlfriend. Of course, she had to be responsible for Yinji's things. Got it. When you compete, I will also go and cheer for you. After saying that, Yinji picked up his school bag. I'm going to pick up Grandma. I'll let you meet after the sports meet. It's rare for you to be so serious. However, just as Little Chi finished speaking, she saw Yinji smile. After all, an ugly daughter-in-law will have to meet her in-laws sooner or later. Little Chi, F***CKU. You're the ugly one. Your entire neighborhood is ugly. Even so, Little Chi still felt the sweetness in her heart. This was the part of love that people yearned for and were infatuated with. After Yinji left, many girls in the class began to understand Yinji's competition, especially in Ruoli. Since she had come for Yinji, how could she give up so easily? Therefore, tomorrow, she would definitely go to the stadium to cheer for Yinji and prepare sports drinks and towels for him. When Little Chi saw this, she shook her head. What was the point of this? Yinji already had someone. Even if he was evil, he was the only one who could make her heart beat faster. Therefore, no matter who came to compete, she would not let them. Chapter 1047. The next day, Jianchuan High School spring sports meet opened on the sports field. The events to be held in the morning were the men's and women's 100-meter, 200-meter, and 400-meter relay. Because of Yinji's participation, this year's sports field was especially lively. Little Chi was wearing a white sportswear and holding a mineral water bottle as she walked in the audience area, searching for Yinji. Actually, there was no need to be deliberate. After all, wherever the screams were the loudest, Yinji would be there. Yinji was wearing a black and white sportswear. Standing in the crowd, he was so dazzling and eye-catching. Little Chi wanted to go up and observe, but there was no place for her around Yinji. Therefore, she sat on a stool at the side, lost in thought. Soon, a warm body walked to her side and took the towel and mineral water from her neck. Why are you in a daze? Little Chi came back to her senses and saw Yinji sweating profusely. Behind him was a group of girls. Junior, use my towel. Yinji impatiently pushed away the enthusiastic contributions. Then, he put his arm around Little Chi's shoulder and said, My desk mate is here. You guys can rest. Everyone looked at Little Chi with resentment. What a goddamn luck. I saw Yinji use Shang Qingwan's towel and drink her water. I can't help it. They're desk mates. Yinji winked at Little Chi. The little girl was really not proactive at all. Let's go. It's time for lunch. Are you done? Little Chi stood up and asked, "What else do you think?" Hyunji walked in front of Little Chi, sweating profusely. Little Chi walked behind him with a towel in her hand. This was the first time the two of them were outside the classroom, one in front and the other behind. Hyunji's excuse was that they were desk mates. He only drank from desk mates, and he only played with desk mates because he had a serious obsession with cleanliness. This was also the first time Little Chi was eating in the school cafeteria. She looked a little restless because opposite her was Hyunji's enlarged, handsome face. "Your hubby is too handsome. Are you nervous?" Hyunji saw that she was not eating seriously and quickly teased her. "Do I want to become public enemy number one? Don't worry. In their eyes, I don't treat you like a girl." Hyunji placed the soup in front of Little Chi. "I have a match in the afternoon. If you get distracted again, I have plenty of ways to teach you a lesson." After Little Chi heard this, she flicked his head. "Who taught who?" "Well, little tigress." Hyunji put down the bowl and chopsticks. "This is your first time eating with your husband, right? Aren't you secretly delighted? Can't you be quiet when you're eating?" Little Chi picked up the soup and took a sip. Only then did she realize that after sharing a bottle of water, she and Hyunji shared a bowl of soup. So, she suddenly blushed because she knew that this was called indirect kissing. "You're blushing more and more often." Hyunji took advantage of the fact that no one was around to tuck Little Chi's hair. "You're so obedient. I like it the most when you tie your hair like this." Little Chi, the number of times this person was flirting with her was also increasing. Furthermore, it did not matter where it was. Soon, the two of them finished lunch. Originally, Little Chi was worried that the people outside would spread rumors, but she never expected that those people would mistake Little Chi for Hyunji's brother based on his actions. Chapter 1048. Of course, Hyunji did this on purpose. In this way, he could openly order his concubine around. For example, "Little brother Shung, I'm thirsty. Little brother Shung, I want a towel." Hyunji acted as if he was squeezing Little Chi dry, but in fact, he brought Little Chi with him, giving her the best view of his competition. Although the girls were envious of Little Chi, they treated it as Hyunji enslaving her. Although she could be with Hyunji at any time, she was not Hyunji's girlfriend, so they did not pay too much attention to her. Seeing this, Little Chi heaved a sigh of relief. It was not that she was afraid, but that even they had not given each other a definite answer, so there was no need to make it known to the world. For the whole day, Little Chi was ordered around by Hyunji whenever he participated in the competition. Every time a girl squeezed Little Chi out of the crowd, Hyunji would deliberately pull her and put her in the most eye-catching position. "I only have this little brother. I can't lose him." Little Chi really wanted to bite him. Hyunji regretted it a little. Why didn't he use this move earlier? This way, the two of them wouldn't have to avoid arousing suspicion. Although Hyunji looked like he deserved a beating, seeing his smug smile, Little Chi felt a sense of warmth from the bottom of her heart. And with someone at the level of a big brother, the first battle was, of course, beautiful and smooth. Because of this, Hyunji's fans went from being of an age group to being from the entire school. This was because no young man would be so good-looking and have a noble air about him. Most importantly, he was almost omnipotent and a ruffian. Such a boy would have the confidence to be proud no matter where he went. After the day of competition, Hyunji took a shower and came out of the school apartment. At this moment, Little Chi was standing under a tree, surrounded by a group of girls. "Junior, just tell me, how can I talk to Hyunji?" "Junior, you must have some ultimate move to make Hyunji ignore everyone but you." Little Chi had a headache. At this moment, Hyunji appeared behind everyone. With the freshness of a bath, he pulled Little Chi out of the crowd. "There's no ultimate move. It's just that she's the closest to me. Let's go, little brother. It's time to go home." Under the setting sun, the silhouettes of the two were lengthened. Little Chi followed behind Hyunji. In front of her was a boy who was the center of attention. "What are you daydreaming about?" Hyunji quickly turned around when he saw that his wife wasn't following him. "Are you so handsome that you don't dare to move? Who wants to be your lackey?" Little Chi settled the score. She hadn't forgotten that she had been ordered around by this bastard all afternoon. Then, I'll be your lackey, Brother Sheng. Shall we go? I'm hungry. Little Chi immediately laughed. You're treating me. Got it, my little wife. Yinji whispered into Little Chi's ear. Little Chi immediately looked around nervously. After realizing that she had been teased, she directly raised her fist and punched Yinji. Yinji had long known that there was no one else on this road, so he directly held Little Chi's hand. Are you really the young lady of the Sheng family? You're so calculative. I've discovered another weakness of my little wife. Little Chi buried her head the entire time. She didn't want to listen to his nagging at all. Okay? This person was getting bolder and bolder. Not far away, Chang Hui, who was following the two of them, looked at their hands holding each other's. He immediately felt numb and uncomfortable. Was Master Xiao really not going to discipline him? Chapter 1049. After school that day, the two of them returned to Yinji's house hand in hand. When Yinji's grandmother saw this, her eyes immediately lit up. Io, this little cutie is so beautiful. This is Grandma's granddaughter-in-law. Little Chi was stunned by this sudden enthusiasm, but Yinji said, Go and chat with my grandmother. Your grandmother is also so open-minded? Don't you know whose grandmother she is? Yinji smiled and turned to the kitchen to help Annie Hong. Little girl, don't be afraid. Come, Grandma will show you the photos of Yinji when he was young. Then Little Chi was dragged into the study by Grandma He. There was a photo album between their knees. Grandma He explained as she flipped through the pages with Little Chi. Little Chi looked at the photo of Yinji and his parents and immediately knew that Yinji had really received a strict aristocratic education when he was young. It turned out that he had British blood, and judging from his mother's identity, she should be either rich or noble. Therefore, no matter how ruffian he was, she could still see the nobility in him. This was given by the family environment. Yinji is very capable. He knows everything. It's a pity that my parents left too early. Otherwise, my Yinji would be able to live a good life now. As Grandma He spoke, her tears fell on the photo album. Little girl, you're the first girl Yinji brought home. Yinji must like you very much. You have to come and play with Grandma often. Grandma likes you too. After saying that, Grandma He took out a box from the drawer. Inside was a bracelet with a unique pattern. She directly gave it to Little Chi. This is Grandma's greeting gift. You must accept it. Grandma, this. Little Chi was instantly petrified. Was this a marriage? Grandma told you to keep it, so just keep it. Yinji suddenly appeared at the bedroom door and had already changed into fresh home clothes. This person, no matter when I look at him, is really handsome to the point of dropping dregs. But it's not expensive. This is Grandma's gift. Little Chi did not struggle anymore because Grandma He had already put the bracelet on her hand while the two of them were talking. It was a rose gold bracelet that looked a little old. The bracelet was engraved with classical patterns. It was very elegant. Grandma, time to eat. When Grandma He saw that Little Chi had accepted the bracelet, she immediately pulled Little Chi's hand and said, My little cutie, after dinner, Grandma will tell you about the jokes Yinji made when he was young. All right, in the time it took for a meal, Little Chi had forgotten about the bracelet because Grandma He was also a very interesting person. From her exquisite clothes, it could be seen that when Grandma He was young, she must have been a very beautiful socialite. At 9 o'clock, Yinji brought Little Chi out of Grandma's room. It's time to go home. So close. What's the matter? Little Chi was very good at pleasing the old man. Then, will you sleep with me tonight? Yinji whispered into Little Chi's ear. Uffed. With Yinji's words, Little Chi reluctantly said goodbye to Grandma He. I really lost to you. I can see that my grandma really likes you. On the way back to the city, Yinji couldn't help but say to Little Chi, It's been many years since I've seen Grandma talk so much to someone other than me. Even Annie Hong can't do it. Is it really okay to give me the bracelet? Why do I feel like I'm selling myself? Chapter 1050. You're already my wife. Isn't it too late to say this? Yinji sent little Chi out of the banyan courtyard and gently stroked her head. Sleep early. There's a competition tomorrow. Don't order me around tomorrow. Little Chi said angrily and entered the Sheng family's house with her school bag on her back. Behind the door, Sheng Xiao sat on the sofa. It was as if he had X-ray eyes and could see what had just happened outside the door. You're back. Dad, did that kid send you back? Sheng Xiao asked his daughter as he put down the document. Okay. Little Chi nodded. You promised that you wouldn't object to us dating. Sheng Xiao did not say anything. He just looked at the bracelet on her wrist and casually said, Go up and have a good rest. I'll wait for your mother to get off work. Got it, Dad. Little Chi immediately carried her school bag and walked upstairs to the bedroom. However, if Master Xiao was not mistaken, the bracelet on Little Chi's hand should have been worn by the Princess of England. After all, Huang Yao had been in business for so many years. It was impossible for Sheng Xiao not to recognize such a small thing. He didn't expect that such a precious thing would fall into his daughter's hands. He did not have any objections to Yinji now because Master Zhao's every move was calculated in his heart. As long as that brat made his daughter sad and angry. His limbs were broken. Of course, as long as it didn't cross the line, he could turn a blind eye to it. When Mu Chi returned home, Little Chi was already asleep. After all, she had been running on the field for the whole day. Late at night, Mu Chi habitually went to her daughter's room to check on her. She also found the bracelet. Therefore, after returning to her room, she asked Sheng Xiao, Xiao, did you give her the thing she's wearing? Your daughter's puppy Love gave it to her. Sheng Xiao replied, sitting on the soft couch in his black pajamas. This isn't an ordinary item, right? What's going on? Mu Chi leaned against her husband. What kind of boy does our daughter like? Sheng Xiao said nothing. He simply turned around and took out a document from the drawer, handing it to Mu Chi. Mu Chi was shocked. This boy is so handsome. Sheng Xiao, isn't your daughter just like you? How could you take a liking to him if he didn't even look this good? So, you're a descendant of the British royal family. No wonder you didn't object. I'm not against it. It's not because of that. The He family is in a state of disunity. I'm not against it because your daughter likes it. Sheng Xiao took the information from Mu Chi's hands. She's only 12 soon. It's precisely because she's about to enter the rebellious age that she's full of curiosity about these things. Why don't you let her experience it generously, guide her correctly, and tell her what she can and can't do openly? According to your daughter's personality, it'll be easier for her to accept it, and there won't be any estrangement between us, Sheng Xiao explained patiently. The daughter can be soothed, but what about the boy? I'm testing him, but for now he's more interesting than Tang Xiaobao. Master Xiao finally gave Yinji an evaluation. After hearing that, Mu Chi could not wait to meet her daughter's sweetheart. In fact, she did not object to her daughter dating, because she herself had a crush on someone. She was just afraid that her daughter would not meet someone who doted on her like Master Xiao. Since her husband said it was a test, she didn't need to worry too much. However, he still had to find an opportunity to meet this person. Chapter 1051. The next morning, the events at school included the finals of the men's track and field events and the preliminary of the women's track and field events. Little Chi only had one 400-meter race in the morning. Before the competition began, Yinji found her in the crowd. Seeing that her hands were bare, he frowned and asked, Where's the bracelet? Take it off. I'll wear it when I exercise. It's easy to damage it, Little Chi said as she raised her wrist. Got it. Now that the competition is over, I'll wear it back immediately, Yinji ordered domineeringly. So what? No one knows whose family it belongs to. Little Chi snorted and didn't let him have his way. You want me to kiss you in public to announce our relationship? What's our relationship? Little Chi immediately asked Yinji confidently. This bastard, he had never confessed to her, nor did he pursue her. At most, they were in an ambiguous relationship. Humph. They couldn't even be considered boyfriend and girlfriend. Yinji did not say anything, as if he was thinking about something. Just as he was about to answer, he heard someone call Little Chi's name from behind. Lil Wan. Little Chi looked past Yi and saw Feng Shanshan and Mu Chi waving at her from the audience seats with Tang Xiaobao. My mom is here. Little Chi immediately muttered to Yi subconsciously turned around and met Mu Chi-Chi's gaze calmly. Because they were not far away, and only Yi was by Little Chi's side, Mu Chi-Chi's gaze was scrutinizing. Ordinary children would be timid in such a situation, but Yi was not. Magnanimous and magnanimous. My mom is probably here to see you. Little Chi gloated. Yi turned around and looked at Little Chi seriously. Compete well. I'll tell you the answer to your question after the competition is over. Is it about the relationship between the two of them? Little Chi paused for a second and nodded. Don't be shameless. With that, Yi retreated to the side and quickly disappeared into the crowd of students. At that moment, Tang Xiaobao walked up and asked Little Chi, "Who was that boy just now?" "I am my Xiaobao, why are you free today?" Little Chi quickly played dumb. "Your mom dragged my mom over to cheer for you. Look at your body. Do you think you can get first place today?" Tang Xiaobao and Mi Chi were childhood sweethearts. Their families had always been close, so they had even taken a bath together. Of course, that was when they were young. However, this kind of natural intimacy was something that Yi could not compare to. Therefore, he stood in the crowd and watched Little Chi and Tang Xiaobao exchange pleasantries. He was silently jealous. In addition, Tang Xiaobao's appearance and outstanding temperament attracted the attention of the girls in the school. Why were all the boys around Sheng Qingwan so outstanding? Little Chi quickly noticed the commotion around her and said to Tang Xiaobao, "Don't harm me. I can imagine how many people will ask me for your contact information after you leave. Then you can compare." Tang Xiaobao also patted Little Chi's head. However, he was as close as an older brother. But even so, Yi still felt uncomfortable. It was extremely uncomfortable. In fact, he should have long understood that Little Chi came from a famous family, and there was no lack of outstanding people around her. This was the first time Yi felt jealous. He wished he could remove Tang Xiaobao's claw. Chapter 1052. In the audience, Feng Shanshan leaned against Mu Chi-Chi's elbow. "It's that boy just now, right? I have to admit, he's a match for my son." Mu Chi-Chi recalled Yi handsome face. That child seemed to have a lot in common with Master Zhao's personality. Therefore, she suddenly understood why her daughter would fall in love at such a young age. "You have good taste." Mu Chi-Chi concluded with 4 words. Of course, she cannot praise him. After all, she had only seen him and did not know his character. "I heard that he's a bully in school. There are a lot of rumors, and he often fights. So Little Chi actually likes this." Feng Shanshan found it unbelievable because it was Sheng Xiao and Mu Chi-Chi's child. However, she also felt that it was only natural because Mu Chi-Chi had liked that kind of Sheng Xiao back then. They're different. Mu Chi-Chi was referring to Sheng Xiao and Yi. Master Xiao used to be a fox, but Yi in front of her was a wolf dog. A fox was cunning, and a wolf dog was ferocious. Not far from the audience, Little Chi had already started the 400-meter race. No one knew Little Chi's skills, so naturally, no one knew what level she was at. Therefore, when she started running, she shocked everyone. On the 4 tracks, she was the only one who looked as light as a swallow. Without any effort, she left her opponent far behind. There was no doubt about this first place. Of course, there was still the semifinals and the finals. After the race, Little Chi wanted to go to her mother's side, but Yi came out of nowhere and threw a towel on her head. He also placed a bottle of mineral water in her hand. Little Chi wanted to say something to him, but when she saw Tang Xiaobao approaching, Yi quickly disappeared into the crowd. Was this person throwing a tantrum? Tang Xiaobao looked at the towel on Little Chi's head and smiled mockingly. "Aren't you afraid that your mother will see you being so intimate?" "She knows." Little Chi's cheeks were slightly red. "Since you like handsome guys, why don't you like me?" Tang Xiaobao couldn't help but ask. "You guys are different," Little Chi answered softly as she drank the water. "What's different?" Tang Xiaobao wanted to hear her explanation. Perhaps he was deliberately provoking He Yinji and pretending to be closer to little Chi. It's different everywhere. Little Chi wiped her face with a towel, then put the towel away. You Shungs are all so avant-garde. You're only 12 years old, and you already have a boyfriend. You'll be crying in the future. He's not, little Chi explained subconsciously. The two of them had not officially confirmed it yet. Speaking of which, He Yinji had clearly said that he would give her an answer after the competition. However, after delivering the towels and water, there was no sign of them. Who cares if he is or not? In short, don't come crying to me in the future, Tang Xiaobao said as he pinched little Chi's nose. Got it. In little Chi's heart, Tang Xiaobao was like an older brother. His future was limitless. He inherited Tang Yan's steadiness and self-discipline in everything. This was also one of the reasons why little Chi found him boring. She enjoyed a free and unfettered life. Excitement, adventure, and excitement. Only He Yinji could give her these things. Go, it's the semi-finals. Tang Xiaobao heard the referee read little Chi's name and pushed her. Compete well. Don't embarrass me. Even if I want to lose face, I won't lose face for your family. Little Chi snorted. Chapter 1053. During little Chi's semi-finals, Tang Xiaobao deliberately waited at the finish line. He wanted to see if He Yinji would not dare to go forward. If it was really someone like Uncle Snake, he did not mind taking the initiative to help the Shung family clean up. Little Chi's performance on the track was the same as the previous race. Getting first place was still easy. However, during the process, little Chi noticed that her abdomen was stuffy and uncomfortable. Could it be that her good friend was coming now? She supported herself to finish the race and then stood at the finish line to breathe. Tang Xiaobao immediately walked over and handed her the rest of the mineral water. Drink it. Little Chi shook her head. She felt awkward because she did not dare to move. What's wrong? Tang Xiaobao did not understand. Little Chi was especially embarrassed. Just as she was about to call Mu Chi, He Yinji walked out of the crowd. He walked directly to little Chi's side, took off his coat, and tied it around little Chi's waist. Let's go. Little Chi was a little surprised. How did He Yinji know? Moreover, was it really okay for him to ignore Tang Xiaobao like this? He Yinji, my pants are dirty, He Yinji said to her in a low voice. I won't be participating in tomorrow's finals. There's still the 1,500-meter run on the last day. Little Chi let him hold her hand. The two of them were about to walk out of the crowd when Tang Xiaobao caught up to them and stopped them. Stop. What right do you have to take little Chi away in front of her family? He Yinji deliberately held little Chi's hand tighter. How can someone who can't even see her predicament be called family? Besides, you're your family and I'm my lover. There's no conflict. Young hero, you're so bold. Little Chi was instantly bewitched. Tang Xiaobao looked at He Yinji, and He Yinji responded with a fierce expression. If you want to fight, let's meet another day. I won't back down. That's what I've been waiting for. He Yinji smiled faintly and held little Chi's hand as he walked to the locker room in the stadium. Little Chi followed He Yinji. Her heart beat faster and the corners of her mouth curled up. When she reached the locker room, she heard him ask, Do you have any clothes to change into? Yes, little Chi quickly said. Go, I'll guard you outside. When you come out, we'll have a good talk. Okay. Little Chi nodded. Then, she felt He Yinji let go of her hand. At that moment, she only felt disappointed and lonely. She was clearly in front of him, but he didn't know how to be satisfied. Little Chi quickly entered the changing room and checked. Sure enough, she had dirted her pants. She did not know if anyone else had seen it. She didn't know why He Yinji's eyes were so sharp. He could see her embarrassment at a glance. Just as little Chi was changing her pants, Mu Chi called her. Where are you? Mom, take Tang Xiaobao home with any phone. My good friend is here. He's changing his pants. Little Chi held her phone and said in a low voice, If you want to see He Yinji, let's do it next time. I don't want Tang Xiaobao to get involved. When Mu Chi heard that, she knew that she was pressuring her daughter, so she said, All right, we'll talk about it when we get home tonight. I don't want to tell you guys when I get home. Can't a girl have her own worries? But, daughter, that kid is indeed quite handsome. After hearing this, little Chi quickly hung up the phone. She really worried a lot. Outside the door, Hyinji leaned against the door and smiled. Sure enough, his mother-in-law was here to see him. Chapter 1054. Soon, little Chi changed into a new pair of pants and walked out of the changing room. At this time, Hyinji was leaning against the stone pillar, lost in thought. Let's go. Little Chi's face was slightly red. She didn't expect that a boy like him would discover such a thing. Hyinji tilted his head to look at little Chi and immediately teased. Why are you blushing? This kind of thing is always a little embarrassing. What's there to be embarrassed about in front of your husband? After saying that, Hyinji held little Chi's hand and took advantage of the chaos of the sports meet to climb the mountain behind the school. Standing halfway up the mountain, Hyinji held little Chi's hand, his palms slightly sweating. Is that kid today very familiar with you? Tang Xiaobao. He's only a few days older than me. We grew up together. Little Chi answered casually because her gaze was on the two of them holding hands. You like him? After hearing Hyinji's words, little Chi could feel the jealousy in his tone, so she laughed. He's just a playmate. We walk different lives. I don't like people who abide by the rules. Little Chi explained as she looked at the lively field at the foot of the mountain. Didn't you say that you have something to say to me? What do you want to say? In the future, don't play with him. Hyinji turned around and lifted little Chi's chin. In the future, you have to play with me. So overbearing, little Chi was dissatisfied. I can play with whoever I want. Sheng Qingwan, in the future, you'll be mine alone. You have to listen to me, understand? As he said this, Hyinji reached out and touched little Chi's head. I'll spoil you so that you won't lose to the status of a princess at home. Can you be more straightforward? Why are you being so straightforward? Understand it yourself. After saying that, Hyinji leaned over and gently kissed little Chi on the lips. This can be considered a seal. When you're 16, I won't just kiss you like this. Little Chi's face instantly turned red. In the future, be my girlfriend and wife. I'll take good care of you. At this moment, little Chi's heart was shrouded in something called happiness. At the same time, she was worried and worried. Therefore, she took the initiative to bury her head in Hyinji's chest and asked in a muffled voice, Then, will you still fight? You have a girlfriend. You have to hit less. Hyinji curled his lips. Little girl, did you like me a long time ago? What about you? Compared to the usual generous little Chi, the little girl at this moment was so shy that it made people's hearts ache. Of course, Hyinji had only ever seen little Chi like this in front of him, so his smile was very satisfied. The first time I saw this little girl, I wanted to conquer and tease her. I wanted to see your reaction. Hyinji reached out and hugged little Chi. In the future, I will do my best to protect you. Little Chi would probably never forget this day for the rest of her life. The two of them confirmed their relationship on the mountain behind the school. Although the feelings of a 12-year-old seemed so fragile, little Chi believed that at least at this moment, she was experiencing the feelings of her life. By the way, why did that kid call you little Chi? What kind of nickname was that? Didn't he know? My mother's name is Mu Chi Chi, so I'm naturally little Chi. It's mainly because my name is too tongue-twisting, so it's not easy to call me by a nickname. So the whole family calls me Little Chi, Little Chi explained. No, Little One is very smooth. From now on, I'll be the only one calling you that. Do you remember? Before going down the mountain, Hyinji seriously instructed Little Chi. That was his exclusive name. No one was allowed to snatch it. Chapter 1055. But I still want to participate in tomorrow's finals, Little Chi said to Hyinji in a low voice. I don't like to give up halfway. Are you feeling uncomfortable? Hyinji asked. For 100 meters, so it's okay. Got it. Hyinji did not object. In any case, he could just serve her with some red date tea. In Little Chi's heart, she wished that she hadn't left school because she wanted to spend more time with Hyinji. Go home and have a good rest today. I won't teach you how to ride a motorcycle. We'll talk about it when you're more comfortable. After the two of them returned to the classroom, Hyunji naturally carried Little Chi's school bag on his back. Little Chi nodded and did not object. The two of them quickly walked up to Chung Hui, and Hyunji handed the school bag directly to Chung Hui. Go back and be good, okay? Her voice was so sexy. Was she trying to charm people to death? Little Chi quickly got in her car. After Chung Hui drove away, she covered her flushed cheeks. She was really becoming less and less like herself. Hyunji watched Little Chi leave before putting his hand into his trouser pocket. However, just as he was about to go to the shed to find his motorcycle, a tall figure blocked his way. Didn't you say we were going to fight? I happen to have time now. Hyunji was very surprised because Tang Xiaobao had actually waited until they were out of school. Coincidentally, he was also very jealous of Little Chi and Tang Xiaobao growing up together. So the two of them arranged to meet in an open space outside the school. Tang Xiaobao had been taught by Tang Yin since he was young. His skills were definitely not for show, but he lived a very disciplined life, so he had never fought in actual combat. As for Hyunji, fighting was a walk in the park. Although he hadn't learned it properly, his skills were definitely not just for show. The two of them threw away their school bags and started fighting wildly. Little Chi is the treasure of the Shang family. Who do you think you are? How dare you covet her? Tang Xiaobao's strength was astonishing. He pressed Hyunji to the ground and strangled his neck. You're only 12 or 13 years old. What do you know about feelings now? Not only do I dare to think, but I also dare to do it. Xiaowan is my girlfriend. It has nothing to do with any of you. Hyunji suddenly erupted in resistance. The strength of his fists was astonishing. Tang Xiaobao felt the pain and his entire face scrunched up. If you dare to bully Little Chi, I won't forgive you. You don't need to worry about my woman. The two boys swung their fists at each other, fighting to their heart's content. However, because Hyunji was injured, Tang Xiaobao was able to press him to the ground. However, Hyunji also noticed it, so he did not attack ruthlessly. It doesn't count this time. Let's continue after you've recovered. Am I afraid of you? Hyunji snorted coldly. I'm warning you. Don't tell Little Chi about the fight. I was afraid that you would be a busybody. Hyunji did not back down at all. Tang Xiaobao admired his determination. He was indeed a good opponent. Tang Xiaobao picked up the bag on the ground and made a provocative gesture at Hyunji. Hyunji was not to be outdone. However, he had just promised the little lass not to fight, and in just a short 2 hours, he had already broken his promise. However, her childhood sweetheart was also a little interesting. Soon, Little Chi returned home. The first thing she did was to send Hyunji a text message. Are you home? Hyunji looked around, propped himself up, and answered, I'm looking for a car. Little girl, are you checking on me now? Can't I? That you're tuning in to the Romance Rendezvous YouTube channel. We're so grateful for your support, and don't forget to subscribe to join us on this incredible journey through captivating stories. Your generosity through donations truly makes a world of difference, as it's the primary source of revenue that allows me to expand and enhance this channel for you. Thank you from the bottom of my heart for being a part of this adventure.